Audio check, audio check. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Motive Racing channel tonight for our Sunday night show, the GT3 Championship here on the PlayStation 5 on Assetto Corsa Competizione for round 2 of Season 4. And we're here at the Hungaroring for this one. Last time we raced here was the finale of Season 2, where we actually saw PS Vids wrap up his first ever championship here at Motive. And back then we used to run just the one tier. Nowadays we've got 2 tiers for the GT3 Championship, although tonight we're expecting numbers not to be too great. Unfortunately, really just down to the fact that it's Easter Sunday. A bit of an oversight by myself when I set up the calendar. There wasn't really much we could do anyway. I mean, you could hardly just skip a week in the middle of the season, especially so early in the season. And it was just basically, I mean, we just had to run. We just had to run and get on with it. You know, it is what it is. But we're a bit down on numbers as a result tonight. We're missing about, I think, 5 drivers from Tier 2, and we're expecting to be missing about 7 or 8 drivers from Tier 1. So we're a bit down on what we expect to see, but nonetheless, it should be a good night of racing. I hope to have at least 30 across both tiers. I think we're supposed to have somewhere between 13 and 15 drivers for Tier 1, so not a great turnout expected, but then again, you know, it's not the worst either. Also, I wanted to say a shout out to any of the drivers who are down as reserves for Tier 1. If you fancy jumping in tonight, if you are available, obviously you've got another hour and a half until the quali near enough, so you've got time to get prepared and get on and do some practice if anyone fancies it. If you're a Tier 1 reserve, obviously you have to be an experienced driver here at Motive. You have to have driven in the leagues before, and you have to you have to know what you're doing to be in Tier 1, obviously, because we don't just give anybody a spot in Tier 1. You have to have driven in quite a few races and shown that you have the credibility to do so. I've invited a couple of Tier 2 guys to take part in Tier 1 tonight. And yeah, well, we'll have to see whether or not they want to take me up on that. Also looking at potentially a couple of others who might fancy it as well. But yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. But we're currently just starting the qualifying session here for round 2 of the season here at Motive, as we've got plenty of you currently watching on the stream. There's 10 of you currently watching. Guys, if you are enjoying, please do drop a like on the video. Totally zero cases in the comments. I'm in the thumbnail. Yes you are, mate. Yes you are. I had to put you in because your livery is very fetching indeed, I've got to say. So yeah, if anybody hasn't seen already, Totally Zero driving in the blue and orange McLaren livery, and it's absolutely beautiful there. And yeah, good to see Totally Zero back out on track as well. Last week there was a bit of load shedding going on in his area. If you guys don't know what load shedding is, essentially in South Africa there's a little thing going on right now. I think it's the government's way of saving money on energy. So they essentially turn everybody's power off for a couple of hours a day, and I know some people have figured out ways around this using solar panels and stuff like that, and using their own power bank, but ultimately it's not something that everybody can do. So but basically we couldn't see him last week due to that, and that was a real shame. And we saw him on Wednesday night for the GT3 Sprint League here on ACC. He also joined us on Friday night for the F1 League. He races on all 3 titles that we race on here at Motive. He's the only driver who races on all 3 titles that we run on. That's ACC, F1, and obviously Project Cars 2 as well. So yeah, he's dipped his toes into absolutely everything here at Motive as Totally Zero. Always a big fan on the YouTube streams, always chimes in and says hello when we're live, and yeah, absolutely great to have him involved in the community here, massive part of the community here on the Discord server. Also got Robert Rodonsky there. Robe, regular tuner in here at Motive on the channel. He's saying back again. Robe, we're expecting to see him out on track also later on in Tier 1 as well. He is the reigning champion of this Tier 2 division, and obviously being Tier 2, you can't exactly defend your title, because if you win Tier 2 then you get promoted to Tier 1. So obviously he's not here to defend his title, but nonetheless checking out what these guys are up to here tonight. You'll recognise a lot of the names, a lot of the drivers who he raced alongside last season, still in here in Tier 2, trying to battle it out to get into one of those coveted top 6 spots which get promotion to Tier 1 at the end of the season. Also, I just want to give everybody a bit of a heads up. I've got this really weird pain on the right side of my mouth at the moment. I don't quite know what it is. I must have bitten my tongue or something in my sleep, because I've got this really quite agonising pain. I was eating earlier on, and it was actually really quite uncomfortable to eat, because I've got this pain. It's like the back of my tongue. And yeah, it's very uncomfortable. So if I do seem like I'm suffering, I am, basically. Every time I swallow and every time I chew, it's just really uncomfortable. Andrew in the comments said, "Alright, peeps. Alright, welcome, Andrew. Andrew, I think he can't make tonight, if I'm not mistaken, but obviously checking us out nonetheless here on the stream. Good to see you, mate. I assume you couldn't be with us on the track, but good to see you watching nonetheless." So at the moment here in this session, we've got Jill Silver in on provisional pole position. He's really been sandbagging over the practice, because he was nowhere near Diego in the practice, but all of a sudden he's pulled that lap out of his sphincter there. He's currently a tenth ahead of Diego, although has Diego not really unleashed the full performance of that Ferrari yet. I think he was actually in the mid 44s in practice, so I don't think we've seen Diego's true hand at this stage here in the session. But yeah, he's currently a tenth of a second off of Jill Silvering's fastest time. Can he unleash what's within the capabilities of that Ferrari and put himself on the top spot? We'll have to wait and see over the course of the second part of this qualifying session. As Andrew says, yeah, missing gutted, one of my favourite tracks. Yeah, shame. It's Hungary's a well-known track amongst F1 fans, obviously, because Hungarian Grand Prix takes place at this circuit, and it's one that I knew quite well. I haven't raced it for a while, because I've been playing Project Cars 2 for so long, and Project Cars 2 doesn't have this track, but I knew it back in the day when I used to play F1, and yeah, it's a good fun track to drive. I usually pick the Porsche around here on this game, just because it's got so much grip, and generally straight line speed isn't really much of an issue here. As Diego there goes to the top of the pile on a 45.1, so he goes 600ths of a second quicker there than Jill Silver. And superb stuff there from Diego. That's GT3 there saying good luck tier 2 drivers to all of the lads out on track. Jill Silver says good race, guys. Robo there saying qualifying will be important, as it's nearly impossible to overtake here, and also track limits are brutal. Yeah, it is a very difficult track to overtake. I think that drivers who have got too much downforce on are really going to struggle to make headway through the pack. It's a bit of a compromise. Obviously it's a high downforce circuit, but at the same time, if you fall into a pack, you're not going to get anywhere unless you've got a bit of straight line speed, because the start finish straight is actually quite a long straight, but it's the only part of the track where you can really get anything done. And if you haven't got any straight line speed, you're not going to have a chance of doing anything. So really, there is a compromise here. You've got to go, obviously qualifying and race setups are probably going to differ quite a bit, I would say. But it's going to be fascinating to see how everybody plays it here tonight. As we've still got Diego on provisional pole. Jill Silver has just parked it by the side. I think he's actually coming out of the pits, so he's just rejoining there. As you can see, everybody coming round. GT3 there saying qualifying will be the key. I think you're right. I think Robe and GT3 definitely speaking words of wisdom there. So we've got a funny looking guy currently sat in third at the moment in this session. He's 0.6 of a second off for the fastest time being set by Diego. Totally zero. He is currently fourth in this session at the moment, as he's just coming into the final sector. Remster in the pits at the moment. Exeron is just coming through into the middle sector at the moment. Spur time 1.4 over the pace. I was saying that he's well, we just see Diego there has improved his lap time considerably. He's now 4/10 clear of Jill Silverin, and that's a lot more like what we saw in the practice earlier on, as that was a hiccup. Fierce Mars sat in 8th at the moment in this session. He's just ahead of Nath J. Fletch on the leaderboard, but it's very close actually between spur time all the way down to Luke van der Streets. 3/10 covering those 5 drivers. But Shark Azula currently P10, not showing the pace that we saw from him last week at Spa, where he was contender for the win and actually won the race in the end. He actually wasn't quite on the pace of Diego last week, but he managed to get the win because Diego had a bit of a mare during the pit window, which gave Shark Azula essentially an absolute walkover. Luke van der Streets 11th at the moment on this leaderboard. He's got Snoopy behind him in 12th, as Snoopy's just coming into the final corner. And can Snoopy find a few more tenths of a second here and maybe get himself into the top 10 here. He's coming up towards the line. What is it going to be for him? He stays in P12 for the time being, so no improvement. Erico just coming out onto the track. Tunde in the pits at the moment. You've got Day coming through turn 2. Leximate just coming out of the pits now. And Chris is just coming through the final corner. He's currently sat 17th at the moment in this session. Can he find a bit of time here as he's coming out of the last corner and up towards the line as he comes over now? And Chris can't improve for the time being. He stays in 17th place. But everybody out on track, barring Remster and Tunde at this point, as we can see the provisional pulses to Diego coming out of the final corner. And can he improve his lap to the mid 44s here? Over the line he comes, doesn't improve, stays on a 44.7 for the time being. Jill Silverin is now on a lap as he's coming up towards turn 4. We've got a funny looking guy just going through into the final sector of the lap. Let's ride with him here as he's just about a second off of the pace. Can he find a few tenths? Maybe get himself on the front row. Who knows, find a second and put himself on pole. That's unlikely though. But if he can find about half a second, he might be able to go P2. As Totally Zero's there's going into third place. So Totally Zero pushing a funny looking guy down. Now can a funny looking guy respond to that as he's coming up towards the line? Doesn't look like it. He stays in P4 at the moment. As we can see, Luke van der Streets has gone into P5. So good lap there from him. And he pushes everybody else down a position, barring the top 4 obviously. And yeah, nice time there from Luke van der Streets. As we can see Exeron here coming out of the final corner. And he might have a bit of slipstream off of the car in front as well, which is spur time. Spur time doesn't improve, but Exeron does, up into 4th place. So he now gets himself within a second of the provisional pole time. And yeah, the time's coming in thick and fast at the moment. Lots of drivers on lap times. There's a BMW coming over the line in the background. That must have been Snoopy there, who stays in P12. You've got error code there in the background. You can see it was an Audi there, just coming into the first corner. But yeah, right, closing stages really of this qualifying session here for round 2 of the GT3 Championship here at Motive Racing. For season 4, we've got the tier 2s out on track right now in front of us. 17 of them here for this second round of the season. Obviously a bit of a depleted turnout this week, just down to the fact that it's Easter really. That's the main reason and nothing else. It's literally just the fact that it's Easter Sunday and plenty of people are away at relatives or just doing other things really, and as a result we're missing a few. But Diego comes over and doesn't improve, stays on a 44.7 and provisional pole obviously. So no dramas, no changes there. Totally Zero comes over, stays in 3rd. Funny looking guy's bringing it into the pit, so he's not going to improve at the end of this session. That's going to be the summit of his ambitions here in this second qualifying session of the season. So who else can improve here? Jill Silverin's coming into the final sector. Diego's out there trying to improve on his provisional pole time. Totally Zero in the pit, so he's not going to improve. Exeron coming in as well. So it's literally just on these two here. And has Jill Silverin managed to find half a second here on his final lap? It would be some task for him to do that. But here he comes into the final corner. He's staying out there, which suggests he's on a quicker lap. But how much quicker is it as he's coming around the final corner and out onto the start-finish straight? Jill Silverin up towards the line, and he can't improve. Doesn't even improve his fastest time, his personal best. So that is that then, I think, pretty much. Yep, that's that. The session's over. So it's Diego who'll be starting this one on pole position for round 2 of the tier 2s for the GT3 Championship here at Motive on ACC on the PlayStation 5. Jill Silverin will be lining up alongside him on the front row with Totally 0K in 3rd ahead of Exeron 4, followed by a funny looking guy in 5th ahead of Luke van der Street. Spur Time and Remster in 7th and 8th ahead of Fierce Miles and Nathan J. Fletch. And then you've got Shark Zulu ahead of Snoopy, followed by Error Code, Day 666 behind them with Tunde, Leximate and Chris rounding out the field. Right, let's get some lights on, it's dark in here. Here we are then, guys. Round 2 of the GT3 Championship here at Motive. And we've got Diego lining up on pole for this one, obviously. Not a standing start, they will be doing a formation lap, so we're doing the entire circuit, and then out of the last corner, we'll be coming up towards the line, and once we cross that line, it'll be green, green, green. So they're just going to do a little bit of a parade for us before we get going. It's something we've introduced for this season. The last couple of seasons we've been doing short formation laps, which look very tacky, to be honest with you, and I regret not getting on top of that sooner and making it look a little bit more professional and a bit more realistic, like a real race. So obviously this is what you'd be seeing in real life GT3, and this is what you're now getting at Motive, which is supposed to be an authentic sim racing experience for not just the drivers, also the viewers and anybody who might gaze their eyes upon this league, which they're currently watching. But yeah, Totally Zero there mentioning in the comments that he hopes everything's okay with the pit settings yet. I learnt my lesson on that one, mate. I learnt my lesson after the Tier 2 race, because I already set up the Tier 1. As soon as I saw that had happened for the Tier 2s last week, I immediately went and made the adjustment on the Tier 1 server. And then what I did after that was I saved the Tier 2 settings. So I fixed it on Tier 2 and saved the settings without restarting it, obviously because we were mid-race. But I changed the settings during the race, saved it, and then obviously afterwards restarted it. So that issue was fixed immediately as soon as I noticed it. That was it. That was not going to happen again. We got on top of that very quickly. But yeah, here we are then, guys, anyway, for this second round of the season. It's going to be an exciting night here, but let's see what's going to happen. I've sent out a couple of invites to the top Tier 2 drivers here tonight to see if they want to jump in as a reserve for Tier 1 here tonight, because we are expecting a bit of a low turnout, obviously, with it being Easter Sunday. Also, I've just messaged all the Tier 1 drivers, reserves that I know of, who are experienced drivers who have raced many times here at Motive. So yeah, that's hopefully we can get the Tier 1s nicely packed out. I know there's a few people who can't do it because obviously, yeah, they've only got time for one race. They've bookmarked their schedule for one race, and that's really all they can do, and that's fair enough, obviously. But yeah, I think one or two guys from Tier 2 jumping into Tier 1s isn't going to do anybody any harm, hopefully, anyway. But yeah, this should be an exciting night here at the Hungaroring, which is a difficult track to overtake. Are we going to be seeing a much sort of push around, or are we going to be seeing a procession, maybe? Hopefully not. Hopefully we see plenty of overtakes and some exciting action here. That's what we all come to see, that's what we all tune in for, that's what I stream these races for as well. We've got Kangi in the comments saying the like button smashed. Thank you very much, Kangi, appreciate it, good to see. Kangi will be racing hopefully in Tier 1 later on. He is currently on call, but as long as his work don't require his services, he should be okay to join us for Tier 1. But if we see Kangi jumping out midway through the Tier 1 race, then we shall know why. Oh, there's a BMW in the background there, getting it horribly wrong. And who was that? That must have been Jill Silver. No, it wasn't Jill Silverman. Who was it? Nath J. Fletcher. It was Nath. Was it Nath? No, I'm sure it was a BMW. Was it not? It might not have been. Yeah, it was a BMW. I'm absolutely certain it was a BMW. Who was it? Who was that? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't a BMW. I thought it was. Oh, I'm really confused right now, I must say. It is a BMW. Who is it? Who was that? I'm so confused. I've checked all of the BMWs and it was none of them. What? Number 9, Fierce Mars. Oh, it's Fierce Mars. No, it says on there. Okay, it says he's in an Audi on the timing screen. That's why I'm confused, guys. If you look on the left-hand side, you can see it says he's in a number 1 Audi. And that is completely untrue. He's actually in a number 3 BMW. So I don't know what's gone on there. That is really peculiar. But nonetheless, we are lights out, we are underway as we're coming down towards turn 1 for the first time, and Diego's leading. He's got a slender lead, but Jules Silverin looking around the outside here of turn 1. Diego trying to hold his ground on the inside, bit of contact there between the two of them as Diego there pushed a little bit wide. Down towards turn 2 we go, and Diego's just a little bit ahead here, but Jules Silverin's going to have the inside for turn 2. Down the inside he goes, and he gets the move done there to Jules Silverin. Diego gets pushed a little bit wide. Totally Zero K is going to mug him here up into P2, and Exeron is looking around the outside here as well, but has to tuck in behind him for the time being as we come up towards turn 4 for the first time. A funny looking guy here is attacking on the back of Exeron as we're coming up towards turn 4. Has to tuck in, as we can see there, Exeron looking to the outside of Diego, but can't get the move done. But it's Jules Silverin leading, clear away at the moment ahead of Totally Zero K. It's Diego there really wide as he got damage, and there's somebody into the wall in the background there. That was Shaka Zulu there, who went straight into the tyre barrier. So he has had an absolute horror show of a start here on this opening lap. So he's going to need to come in and get that damage repaired. I'm sure about that. He must have had contact there for that to have happened. Maybe it was cold tyres. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, Shaka Zulu going nowhere fast at the moment. He is stuck in that wall and he has not moved since he got there. But currently Jules Silverin leading us here on the opening lap. Totally Zero K is absolutely hassling the back of Jules Silverin coming through the final sector here. He's all over him right now and looking to try and force him into a mistake if he possibly can. But Jules Silverin having got the lead, he got the jump on Diego. Diego's had nothing short of a nightmare on his opening lap. He's down to P6, so he has lost place after place after place, and he's continuing to tumble down the order here. Needs to get himself together, and Shaka Zulu has not moved a muscle. He is still stuck in that barrier and is showing no signs of moving anywhere anytime soon. So a bit of a horror show there for him. As a fun looking guy is very close to the back of Exeron here, coming down the start finish straight. Is he going to have an opportunity here coming into turn 1? Not at the moment. Looks like he's just a little bit too far away at this point. As we've got a move being shaped up here in the background. Remster is looking down the inside here of Snoopy. These two teammates, both members of the DGR team, and Remster there making a move up into P10. So beautifully done there from him. As we can see in the background, Fierce Mars is trying to close up onto the back of these guys as well here. But Remster there moving himself through up into P10. Fierce Mars waiting in the wings. You've got Day 666 there just ahead of Lexi Mate with Chris running in 15th place. Shaka Zulu here on this opening lap way down the order, and he is definitely not going to be moving for the duration of this race. I think that says he's set up station there in that barrier now for the rest of tonight by the looks of it. And we've got Snoopy here trying to get back onto the rear of Remster after losing the position to him into turn 1 at the beginning of this lap, but still Stapp just behind him at the moment. As we can see in the foreground there, Remster going very deep into the chicane, and he's lost a bit of time here on the back of Ericode. Ericode's now streaking away from these two, the Audi pulling away from the Bentley, and then you've got the BMW and the Audi, or not the Audi, the BMW. So we've got a load of beasts here in a line as Remster still in front. Oh, and Snoopy loses it there, pins it into the wall, and he's going to have damage on the car, I'm sure about that. Fierce Mars moves through. In fact, where is Snoopy? No, he's still on the back, so actually Snoopy didn't lose any places there. Fierce Mars has got damage and has got Day all over the back of him. So did Snoopy tag Fierce Mars? The cameraman just sort of didn't really pick it up. As we can see, Day looking down the inside into the penultimate corner. Bit of contact there between the two of them, and Fierce Mars holding it around the outside for the time being. Day's trying to attack on him. We've lost Shaka Zulu from the session, so he is retired here. Very early on, obviously, with that incident. We saw him go into the wall on the opening lap, and the race 1 winner, the season opener winner from last week at Spa, is already out of the race here at Hungary. So how things changed so quickly in the space of a week here at Motive. As we can see, Day looking down the inside into turn 1 on Fierce Mars. Fierce Mars holds his ground and holds his position for the time being. But Shaka Zulu, I think this track must be a bit of a bogey track for him, because he's been extremely quick. Obviously at Spa last week, we've seen his pace around Paul Ricard and also Kyle Army so far this season. So I think maybe the Hungaroring, a track that Shaka Zulu just does not get on with for whatever reason. We all have those tracks, to be fair. I mean, Paul Ricard is that track for me. So, you know, I know that everybody has the tracks that they don't particularly seem to click with, but currently right now we can see that Nathan J. Fletcher's on the back of Luke van der Streets. Luke van der Streets is still on the back of Diego, and Diego, I tell you what, he has not had the opening to this race at all. He was on pole position in qualifying by 0.4 of a second as well. He was the only driver in the 144s in qualifying, but so far in this race he's had absolutely nothing to offer anybody. He's just been tumbling down the order. He's facing heavy pressure here from Luke van der Streets, but yeah, a real shocker so far from Diego, I've got to say. I wonder if maybe he's running a full tank of fuel. That's the only theory I've got here as to why he might be so far away. It's because he's potentially put a full tank of fuel in and is planning to go the whole distance in the race on one set of tyres. But even so, even with that being considered, you know, his pace is just not there at the moment, based on what we've seen in qualifying. So I don't know if he's got some damage, maybe some underfloor damage, potentially he's run over a curb or something, because there's no obvious damage on the bodywork. But in the meantime, Totally Zero K is still hassling the back of Gilles Silverman for the lead of the race. There's a funny looking guy who's got extra underkin on the back of him into turn one. Spur time right there as well. So we look further down the order, you've got Day, who's starting to actually fall off of Fierce Mars a little bit there. Lexime is just ahead of Chris. Snoopy in the pits here early on, so looking to potentially get a cut back or get the undercut. Obviously with the damage on his car, it's a good time to come in. You can pit any time here at Motive for the GT3 Championship. There is a mandatory pit stop, but you can do it at any point, so if you get damage early on, you can kind of save your blushes and try and recover it with the strategy in some way, so you're not completely and utterly screwed. And obviously that should help with people not wanting to rage quit, because you know, if you can come in early and save your blushes, then it's an opportunity for you to recover things and not be in as much trouble than you otherwise would be if there was a mandatory pit window. Because if you've got to come in and fix damage early on, and then you've got to come in again during the pit window, it's a massive double whammy, and it's not necessary. You know, ultimately you've suffered enough by getting the damage and losing time to your rivals. Ultimately, you don't need to make it worse. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to rub salt in the wounds and make it even worse than it already is. It's just, you know, it's bad enough as it is. Just leave it. But Gilles Silverman, just under a second here for Totally Zero K. There's that funny looking guy out of Exeron, followed by Spur Time Diego. You've got Luke Van der Street still facing heavy pressure from Nath J. Fletcher at the moment. Error Code's just dropping off of the back of Remster at this point. You've got Fierce Mars with the damage on his car, who's dropping off of them. Day there running in 12th place with Lexi Mate and Chris there running not too far behind them at the moment. Snoopy's now done his pit stop, so you can see the little green box next to his name down the bottom, and that's what we didn't see unfortunately last week for the duration of the tier 2s, because some idiot didn't set up the server correctly. Don't know who that was. But in the meantime, Totally Zero is still happening absolutely heaps of pressure here on the back of Gilles Silverman as they come into turn one. It's a really good spot actually to pick out a move, because they're all sort of like concertinaing up. You can see them all coming into the shot. It's a really good way actually. I love this turn one here at Hungary, because you can see about sort of half a mile down the straight, and you can see all of the moves. You can see everybody who's attacking on anybody, and yeah, it just gives you a real little scope of what's going on in the race. A real opportunity to pick out what's going on. But Exeron's still on the back of a funny looking guy. They've gapped Diego by a little bit, although having said that, Diego's now starting to just get into the zone a little bit now. He has actually done the fastest lap of the race. You can see a little purple marker next to his name on the left hand side of your screen, and that indicates that he has done the fastest lap of anybody so far in this race. And he's now trying to put this pressure here on a funny looking guy and Extron. Maybe he's heard my criticism here on the stream, has thought to himself, no, I'm not having this, Andy. I'm not. Sorry, I'm not. I'm going to go and win, or I'm going to go and get a podium. But currently he is absolutely piling the pressure here on a funny looking guy and Exeron. Exeron will be the first to have to deal with the charge here of Diego. But they're now starting to gap Spur Time a little bit. Luke Van der Street has still got Nathan J. Fletch on his bumper, but seems to have the measure of him at this point. Gilles Silverman has got just under a second here over Totally Zero K. These two obviously 1 and 2 in this race. Exeron still trying to put the pressure on the Fanakin guy, but Diego is creeping close to the back of these guys as we speak. We've got some comments coming in here on the YouTube stream as well. Andrew there saying shark out, message on that his wheel is not working. Tried update and guess it's not worked. Oh, what a shame. Obviously that explains the unusual incident there on the opening lap. Mike says in the comments, Mike Stokeman, our champion of the 3-time champion of the Clio Cup and 2-time champion of the touring car division here at Motive. There's few close racing here, mate. It really is, Mike. It's excellent stuff here for the tier 2s here, and obviously with the depleted grid, I was a bit worried that we wouldn't be seeing as much close racing. Obviously with only 15 drivers seeing us Easter Sunday, or we did actually have 17 start, but we've lost 2 already. But yeah, seeing us Easter Sunday, obviously the numbers not quite where we want them to be, but not too bad. You know, ultimately I think we can take a one bad week. You know, it's Easter, as I say, so this should be expected really. We had 42 drivers turn out last week, 21 in each tier, and this week I think we're expecting about 15 for tier 1, so If we can get 30 drivers this week, I'll be happy with that. Oh, it's a funny looking guy has dropped it somewhere, so he's now falling back into the clutches here of the Audi of error code. So he's now down in 9th place here in this race. This is a funny looking guy, so that's gone really quite pear-shaped there for him. I didn't actually see what happened, but ultimately he's now fallen well off of Exeron, and Diego is ahead of Exeron. So actually something's happened here. I think it might have been between Exeron and a funny looking guy, because those two have dropped positions here. Diego's now nearly 2 seconds clear of spur time, so he's pulling that gap out. But yeah, I think Exeron and funny looking guy have definitely had contact somewhere, and a funny looking guy with damage on the car. Exeron seems to have got away lightly compared to a funny looking guy. As you can see, Nath here looking all over the back of Exeron coming into the final corner, as he looks to try and send it around the outside here of Exeron. As we can see there, Remster trying to poke his nose up the inside here as well, as they're going to be side by side here down the start finish straight. You can see Remster here is trying to eye up a move here on Nath, but here we come down towards turn 1, and Remster for the time being holding his ground and keeping ahead. But Luke van der Streets leads this train of cars right now. This is technically a 4 or 5 car train. Yeah, 4 car train here, fighting it out over P5. You've got a funny looking guy who's dropped off at him a little bit, obviously without damage on the car. Error code is pressuring him a little bit. Also Fears Mars not too far away from them as well. But Luke van der Streets here still ahead of this train right now, as they're all filing through turn 4 here for the 7th time in this race. You've got Jill Silverine currently just ahead of Totally Zero K. There's Diego running in 3rd place. Spur time there running in P4 at the moment, just over 5 seconds off of the race lead. Luke van der Streets ahead of Exeron, followed by Nate. You got Remster there ahead of Fun Looking Guy. There's Error Code and Fierce Mars there running in P11 at the moment. So the top 11 drivers here in this race actually separate by about 10 seconds. So yeah, it's not massive gaps. Obviously it's early on here in the race, so you'd expect them to not be separated by a huge amount. But Exeron's still very close on the back of Luke van der Streets at the moment. Currently got 14 of you watching the stream. Guys, if you are enjoying, please do smash the like button, as we've got Sharkazulu in the comments saying major wheel troubles, the throttle got stuck wide open, absolutely devastated. Oh mate, that is really unfortunate. And obviously the pace he had last week at Spa, there's still 6 rounds left in this season. If you can have sort of 7 very strong results this season, you could still be in that top 6 at the end of the season. There's definitely every chance. So just keep plugging away, mate. That's all I can say. And yeah, hopefully we can see you getting on top of those wheel troubles here tonight. But in the foreground here, we've got a move being shaped up. Exeron looking up the inside of Luke, but Luke's still holding his ground at the moment, still considerably ahead of it enough to hold on. Fierce Mars has managed to get ahead of Error Code. Error Code's trying to come back at him. They managed to get a great cut back there out of turn 1. They're side by side coming into turn 2. There's Fierce Mars there on the inside. Error Code trying to go round the outside, but Fierce Mars is going to cover that one off. Hugs the curve on the inside, gets it nicely turned in, keeps the traction, and Fierce Mars will hold on here coming out of turn 3. Up the hill they go, as Error Code trying to creep a little bit closer here in towards turn 4 they go, but Fierce Mars there's got that held onto there in P10. It's Jill Silverine and Totally Zero, still separated by not much. There's Diego, bit of a gap back to spur time. Luke van der Streets has got Exeron, look up his inside, and Exeron there going for a very rash and reckless manoeuvre there. Then that was unnecessary, and he's dropped a bit off of well, he's going to probably get a bit of damage there. In the meantime, what's happened to Nath? Because Nath has dropped off of these guys massively as well, as Remster's closing up onto the back of him. So yeah, very strange there. But Luke van der Streets still just ahead of Exeron, and yeah, something's happened to Nath, because he's now nowhere to be seen. So he's dropped it somewhere, and he's now behind Fierce Mars and Error Code. Fun looking guys closing up onto the back of Exeron here in his fight with P6 and 7. These two we presume came together earlier on, because they both lost a load of places on the same laps, but they're currently running quite close here in this little battle. But Jill Silver in there ahead of Totally Zero K, followed by Diego, and these three separated by about a second right now. There's Spur Time running in 4th place, as we can see Exeron looking to the inside here on Luke van der Streets. Down the inside he goes. Luke van der Streets is going to try and get a cut back here out of turn 1 if he can. He goes a little bit deep. Does Exeron. Luke van der Streets though is not going to be able to come back at him, and Exeron has got that move done there up into 5th place. So good move there from him. And the following guys still just sat behind these guys watching and waiting. As they're coming up the hill once again here. But Jill Silver and Totally Zero K just under a second between them. There's Diego, who's now right in this fight for the lead. And I was saying earlier on about Diego, I pointed out the fact that he'd lost 5 places on the opening lap and was really struggling to, I think, get his tyres warmed up. But he definitely seems to be getting into it now, doesn't he? Fastest laps of the race, he's right on the back of this battle for the lead. Totally Zero driving an absolute cracker here in second place at the moment. Jill Silver has been leading since the beginning, but Diego's going to be, I'm sure, pretty intent on relieving him of that position as soon as he can. First off though, he's got to clear this McLaren, who's right in the middle of these two as they're coming out of the final corner here at the end of lap 9. Here we come, on to lap 10. Diego here's got a bit of slipstream here on Totally Zero K. Is he going to look to try and send one into turn 1? He's a bit too far back, I think. He's putting him under some pressure. Just throwing a little feint to the inside. Totally Zero, I think, went a little bit late on the brakes there, did he? No, he's got it alright. But this is going to be the point here where Diego's going to try and put Totally Zero K off a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jill Silverin pull away by a second or two here. Oh no, actually, Jill Silverin's got it all wrong going into turn 2, and Totally Zero here has got a run coming through turn 3 right now. They're going to be side by side. Totally Zero keeping himself there on the outside, and Jill Silverin's going to have to leave him a space here coming up the hill towards turn 4. Now Totally Zero will have the inside line and should be able to take the lead here. This Jill Silverin goes wide, goes onto the runoff area. That's going to give Diego P2, and Totally Zero taking the lead of the race here. The first time he's ever led a race here on ACC at Motive. He's managed to keep the pressure on Jill Silverin sufficiently to force him into a mistake, and now it's Totally Zero and Diego ahead of Jill Silverin, and Jill Silverin there has gone from the lead to third place in the space of one corner there, or 2 corners really. But Totally Zero now has the lead, and now Diego is going to look to try and seize the lead and take the position which he started in the beginning of this race. He started in P1, he was on pole in the qualifying session, and he's looking to try and take it back here as we're coming into the final sector here of this lap that we're currently on. So what is going to happen here with these guys is they're currently battling over the lead. Totally Zero, Diego and Jill Silverin, as they're a little way clear of Spur Time running in 4th. You've got Extra on there in P5 ahead of Luke van der Streeks. Bit of a gap back to Fierce Mars, who's got error code all over the back of him. And then a big gap back to Nath, who's just ahead of Remster in about for 9th and 10th places. There's a funny looking guy who's a little way clear of Day. And you've got Chris there running in P13, a little way ahead of Lexi Mate. And Snoopy obviously has been in the pits already. He's got his pit stop done, and we'll see where he comes out in relation to everybody else once everybody comes in for their scheduled pit stops here. But we've got Roby there in the comments saying a tier 1 pass mode got me hungry. Goulash. Oh shoot, I shouldn't be saying that. Well, who cares? Who cares? It's alright. I'm sure no one's sad enough to try and gate crash a sim racing server on the PlayStation. I mean, if anybody's like seriously considering gate crashing the servers, then enough said. But Totally Zero K still has the lead right now ahead of Diego. Jill Silverin just under 2 seconds off of the lead at the moment, so he is dropping off of these two ever so slightly. So yeah, he needs to just get himself back in the zone and pick up the pace a little bit here. Fun looking guys in the pits here at the end of what is lap 10 for him. These guys, the leaders on lap 11, coming towards the end of lap 11. But fun looking guy becomes the second driver to come in, obviously with damage, you know, it's understandable. But yeah, currently we've got the 2 leaders here with Jill Silverin not too far away, so if they start battling, it will definitely be able to bring him into this fight. And one driver who's been going about his business quite quietly tonight but has been doing an impressive job is Spur Time. He's currently running in P4, and he's about 7 and a bit seconds off of the lead at the moment, as they're coming over to start lap 12. But yeah, he's not too far away at all here, so we could be seeing Spur Time. Maybe, you know, on the strategy, could be in the hunt for a podium maybe. I don't know what sort of pace he's got in relation to Jill Silverman, but yeah, that's definitely not be ruling out spur time of a potential top 3 here tonight. Be a good opportunity for him to do that as well. He's a enthusiastic sim racer his spur time. Met him in one of Game Tech's lobbies actually. Game Tech obviously hosts a few bits. It's always a fun looking guy. They're losing it coming out of turn 3, and he gets it going again, but he is going to lose out here. Well, he's obviously down in P15 anyway, but yeah, he's having a bit of a horror show there, I've got to say. Seems to have not got on top of whatever issues were plaguing him before his pit stop. Totally Zero still leading though ahead of Diego right now, and we're going to stick with this battle for the lead because there's not really too much else going on. Nathan's got Remster on the back of him as those guys are coming up towards turn 4 right now, so we'll keep half an eye on that and see how that's developing. But I think Nath is actually now starting to I don't know, we'll have to see if he pulls away. But in the meantime, let's go back to our leaders here because Diego is still keeping Totally Zero very much honest here out the front. And Jill Silverman's not falling massively off of them either. But spur time is matching Jill Silverman in the background, and Exeron is matching spur time, if not closing in a little bit on him at this point. Luke Van der Street's there with his damage on the car. Fierce Mars there running in P7, a little way clear of Error Code running in 8th place. Remster is dropping off at the back of Nath a little bit over the course of this lap so far, so I think Nath is now starting to get it down, and Diego's made a mistake. Diego's dropped it there coming out the final corner, and Jill Silverman's going to move through up into P2, and I didn't really see what happened there to Diego. We just flicked off for the leaders there as they were coming through the final sector, and Diego now in 3rd place, so Totally Zero will be seeing this and will be thinking, I've got a huge opportunity here to take my first ever win at Motive. He's now got nearly a 2-second lead here out the front, so what an opportunity this is for Totally Zero K to potentially become a race winner here at Motive Racing here in the GT3 Championship. As we can see there, Diego making a move down the inside of Jill Silverman into turn 2 and moves himself back through into 2nd place, so recovering 1 position after that mistake out of the last corner. But what's the gap to Totally Zero? It's nearly 3 seconds, so he lost about a second just having to make that move on Jill Silverman. Both of these two losing time to our race leader, who's currently now taking this opportunity to try and skip away here out the front, driving in that very fetching McLaren livery here, similar to the F1 livery that obviously we obviously see Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri driving in, and obviously the similar livery they've been running for the last few years, really, actually since about 2019 I think it is, that McLaren switched to their orange livery. But yeah, Totally Zero currently doing an absolutely superb job here, although Diego gained 8 tenths through that middle sector there. But I don't know if Totally Zero, did he make a mistake, guys? I didn't really notice a mistake, but 8 tenths in 1 sector doesn't seem right. I didn't notice any sort of obvious mistakes. I don't know, maybe I just wasn't really looking properly. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but yeah, that looked like to me like a substantial gain from Diego as we're coming out of the last corner here, about to complete lap 13. So the gap 1.6, so Diego gained a couple of tenths there coming through the final sector. But Totally Zero still with the ascendancy right now. Spur time in the background, 4.5 seconds off of a podium position. He's got Exeron really reeling him. It's P4. You can see Nathan's got Remster all over him as they're coming over the line. And Remster's going to be looking to try and attack here. He's looking to the inside here on Nathan to turn 1. He's going to go down the inside, and he makes the move beautifully there, does Remster. But Nathan's going to get a cut back here, and down towards turn 2 is going to take the position back off of him again. Remster there can't come back at him into turn 2, so Nath there gets it back up into 9th place, having lost the position momentarily there. And Remster's going to have to get up early in the morning if he wants to nab Nath here at the Hungaroring tonight. As there's 11 of you currently watching the stream, guys, smash the like button and show your appreciation for this battle here, as Remster was looking down the inside into turn 4, but Nath still having just enough in hand at the moment, as Totally Zero K out the front has got a lot less of a gap to Diego than he did before. Diego has absolutely taken chunks out of him here. This middle sector, Diego is on another level from Totally Zero and Jill Silver, and the pace that he's got in the middle sector is absolutely insane, but there's no way you can make an overtake in the middle sector, so he's got to be there, he's got to be close enough to potentially make a move down the start finish straight. But Diego's pace through that middle part of the lap is absolutely sensational. As we're coming out of the last corner here, and Totally Zero is going to have to defend here because Diego's got a heck of a run as we're coming down the start finish straight now, down towards turn 1. Totally Zero parking his car on the inside line, but Diego's about a second and a half a lap quicker than Totally Zero. But saying that, it's a track that's really hard to overtake, so a second and a half a lap might not even be enough to get the move done. But Diego's looking to the outside here. Totally Zero defends the inside line coming down towards turn 2, as Diego's going to try and go all the way around the outside, and he might have this done here coming up towards turn 2. Totally Zero is going to push him a little bit wide, but Diego's got the inside for turn 3. Totally Zero keeping it around the outside there on the exit of turn 3 and just holding on by the skin of his teeth. Diego had to get out of that a little bit there, but Totally Zero still ahead as we come up the hill towards turn 4. He just about survives there. Diego's trying to put the pressure on, but at the moment Totally Zero K holding up to his every little bit of pressure that he's trying to put him under. As Fierce Mars here is in the pits, so he's making his stop here at the end of lap 14 for him. Totally Zero and Diego still just under a second between those two right now. There's Joel Silverin, who's just over 2 seconds off of the lead. Spur time still got Exeron absolutely hassling him. As Remster sticking to the back of Nath at the moment, but Fierce Mars in the pits at this point. Snoopy and the Fun Looking Guy have both been into the pits already, so they've got their pit stops done and out of the way. But Totally Zero here coming down the start finish, so you can see Diego just closing in, rid him in a little bit, coming down towards turn 1, but just a little bit too far away there to make it happen. Jill Silverin just watching in the background as Fierce Mars is now back out onto the track, so he's now done his pit stop and is now back in the thick of things once again. As Totally Zero's got Diego looking around his outside here, coming through turn 2, but for the time being he's not going to be able to get it done, as he just keeps it around the outside there. Does Totally Zero. Diego once again can't do anything. Totally Zero is just parking his car in all the right places, and this middle sector of the lap is where Diego's so strong, but it's the middle sector where you just can't overtake. Oh, and Totally Zero's lost it, and Diego there has to take evasive action, and he just makes it around in there. Diego almost lost it there because of Totally Zero losing it in front of him. Totally Zero's down to P2. He's got Jill Silverin all over him now coming into the chicane, but Jill Silverin can't get through and has to tuck in, so Diego up into the lead now. After dropping 5 places on the opening lap after starting on pole, he had to do this one the hard way here in his first stint, but before the end of the first stint, it's Diego in the lead once again here. Spur time is just ahead of Exeron in this battle for 4th and 5th, so Exeron's been closing in on him and is now right on the back of him here as we're coming through this middle part of the lap, but Diego has been knocking on the door of the lead for a considerable number of laps now, and he's finally got that position which he's been so sought after over the course of this race. Jill Silverin here, still on the back of Totally Zero. Totally Zero is coming in at the end of lap 15, so Totally Zero making his pit stop, and we'll have to see what sort of pit stop he does. Is he going to do a stop and go? Is it going to be no fuel, no tyres, or is it going to be a splash and dash with a bit of with some new tyres going on the car as well? Exeron into the pits, so he's coming in as well. So Totally Zero and Exeron here at the end of lap 15, or end of lap 16 actually it is. Diego still leads by just under 2 seconds ahead of Jill Silverin, but I think that he'll extend that gap now. Now he's in clean air and he's not got Totally Zero in front of him. I reckon that we'll be seeing Diego really showing his pace here, and I'd go as far to say that I think Diego's unstoppable here. With the pace that he's got, I don't think Jill Silverin's got what it takes to live with him here. Would love to be proven wrong, but I can't see it happening. Totally Zero in the pit box. It looks to me to be quite a long stop there from Totally Zero. Definitely wasn't a stop and go. I think he's definitely changed tyres. Exeron, I think, is also doing the same. But Totally Zero is now off and away. Exeron, I think, is parked at the end of the pits. So, but yeah, I'm assuming that they're both doing the same thing. Error code is coming in. So is Leximate as well. So lots of drivers coming in here. But yeah, That's currently the situation as things stand here in this race. Totally Zero and Extron have both done it, come in and done their pit stops. Aerocode's in the process of doing his, and Leximate will have done his very, very shortly. As we've got 15 drivers, or 15, sorry, viewers currently watching here, and 15 drivers currently watching the stream. Guys, if you are enjoying, then please do hit the like button, because it really does help us out enormously. And obviously subscribe to the channel as well. If you want to get involved, go to www.motiveracing.com. We have got spaces in Tier 2, and obviously we need to promote a couple of drivers from Tier 2 into Tier 1 as well. So yeah, if anybody is up for joining the league, then definitely check it out. Join the Discord server and get involved in the on-track action. But Totally Zero's come out. He's come out well clear of Exeron, as you'd expect really, because he was well clear of him before they come in. They both come in and done a similar strategy of pit stop. As we can see, Erico coming back out, Leximate there coming out in the background, Snoopy there just going through turn 4 at the moment, and we have lost a driver from the race, so somebody's retired. Was it a disconnection or was it a rage quit? It was most likely a rage quit, because it was a funny looking guy who we've lost, who was riding in P15 a few laps down, having encountered substantial damage. We can see Remsteer coming into the pits, ended up 17, so he's now making his stop, so he becomes the 7th driver in this race to come in. And Diego, what was that? Did he just retire to the pits? I think Diego's made a mistake. I think Diego's made a huge mistake here. I think Diego's dropped it somewhere out there on the track. Has he? I don't know. Let me just quickly replay that. Yeah, Diego's dropped it. Oh no. So for the second week in a row, Diego, having had control of things, having been leading the race, has dropped it, and he's going to have damage on the car, and he's going to have to start a lap down as well, or he's going to have to start on the lap that he was on before. So he's going to be a lap down on Jules Silverin as things stand. So Diego, things have not gone well at all for him. Where on earth is he going to come out here? But Jules Silverin now leading the race here at the end of lap 18, so things have now been shaken up enormously, and Totally Zero could be back in the hunt for this race win, with Jill Silverin obviously the race leader, but Totally Zero was close to him before they came in. Exron in the meantime has gained a second on Totally Zero in the last lap or so, so I don't quite know what's going on with Totally Zero. Totally Zero's made a mistake. Oh no, Totally Zero's into the wall, and he's going to have damage down on the right side of the car. Maybe he's feeling the pressure a little bit. Maybe he's listening to the stream and he can hear that there have been problems for Diego. But oh, he's all over the place, and Totally Zero is falling apart here, and Exteron is only about 3 or 4 seconds behind him on the track. So what is going on here with Totally Zero? Jill Silverin, I think, is going to have a walkover for this race win, as Spur Time's in the pits here at the end of lap 18. So he's making his pit stop. He becomes the next driver to come in. That just leaves Jill Silverin, Luke Van der Streets, Nath J. Fletch, Day, and obviously Diego's come in now. So that just leaves 4 drivers to come into the pits to make their stops. But this is absolutely unbelievable. And for the second week in a row, Diego has basically choked the race win. But it looks like potentially Totally Zero K has done the same thing, maybe a lap later, and that is going to give Jill Silverin probably one of the most loneliest second stints that I think we've ever seen. Shockazulu in the comments saying drama, drama, drama. Definitely so. Did Diego tip Totally Zero round? I don't think so. They weren't close on the track as far as I know. I don't think they were anywhere near each other. I think it was completely separate incidents there. But yeah, nonetheless, this is really shaking things up. Luke Van der Street's coming into the pits here at the end of lap 19, so he's now making his stops. That just leaves 3 drivers here: Jill Silverin, Nath J. Fletch, and Day 666 to come in and make their stops. As there is Luke now pulling into the pit lane and towards his box here. So we've got Lou van der Streets there in the pits, Jules Silverman, your race leader, both on the track and net, I think, because I can't see anybody coming out in front of him as things stand. Spur time's the closest challenger. He's 10 seconds clear of Exeron. If Jill Silverman were to have a nightmare here, then Spur time could have a chance of a race win. But obviously with Diego and Totally Zero both basically bottling this race, it's going to give Spur time, I think, a provisional P2 here. He's in a net second place right now. It's Spur time, so his consistency could be rewarded enormously here in his British Racing Green Aston Martin. What a night! What an opportunity for Spur time here. But yeah, Joel Silverman coming out of the final corner, about to complete lap 20. His gap over Nath nearly 30 seconds. Day a little way behind Nath, so be interesting to see where they come out. I reckon it'll be around Luke van der Streets where they'll come out, or where Nath will come out especially, but Day a little way behind them. But yeah, this is I think pretty much we can all safely say that Joel Silverman's got this race in the bag here, because he seems to have definitely full tanked it. So he won't need to come in for tyres, he won't need to put any fuel in his car. He's good to go until the checkered flag here. And so actually it goes to show the pace that he's had, because to be so close to the leaders with a full tank of fuel, you know, it's no mean feat to be able to do that. So he's done a really good job. Obviously carrying that extra weight does slow the car down a bit. So yeah, definitely a very strong performance here from Jill Silverman, and looking set to take round 2 of the Tier 2s here tonight at Motive for the GT3 Championship here for Season 4 on the PlayStation 5. But Snoopy here just ahead of Remster as they're coming into the final sector. They've got a few quarters to go. Fierce Mars still close on the back of Chris. Oh, it's Fierce Mars. Sorry, Chris, sorry, losing it there. It was Fierce Mars who's already got ahead of him. So Fierce Mars has actually made the move on Chris there, coming through the middle part of the lap, and Chris there almost spinning it as they came through the that tricky. Don't really know what to describe it as, to be honest. That section with loads of turns. As we see Snoopy just tapping Remster in the rear of the two teammates. But Remster making his way through ahead of Snoopy there up into 8th place. As we've got 12 of you currently watching, guys, smash the like button and show your appreciation for the drivers out on track. Great show they're putting on here tonight for us viewers. Really is superb stuff. You see Remster going a little bit wide there, but it's still got enough here over Snoopy. Snoopy's just trying to keep him on his toes a little bit here. It's down towards the chicane they go, but Remster looking to try and extend his gap here over Snoopy if he can. As Snoopy there gets onto the grass a little bit, which is not going to be what he needed at all there, I'll tell you that. But he's keeping his teammate. Obviously, as you can tell by the clan tags, you can tell that they're teammates, or at least comrades, if you can call, I guess. But currently it's Jill Silverman still leading this race. He's your net race leader as well as your actual race leader. Let's flick over to him here. You can see the camera's picking him up, and obviously doesn't need to put fuel in, doesn't need to put tyres on either. But his tyres will be considerably worn out at the end compared to other drivers, so it'll be fascinating to see how this pans out. Obviously, what's the quicker strategy around here? Is it going to be the no tyre change, or is it going to be the half tank tyre change strategy? Because quite often around tracks with lots of corners and sort of the high curbing, and obviously tracks that have got a lot of marbles on them as well off the racing line, you see quite often that the strategy to go with is the tyre change strategy. So yeah, it's going to be, you know, fascinating to see. But Nonetheless, we can see Totally Zero coming in again. Oh, he's got damage. Huge damage there on the front. So Totally Zero's night goes from bad to worse here. What can you say? It was a very promising race earlier on, but it's all gone to pot here. In similar fashion, really, to how it's gone for Diego, but Diego more extreme because he was leading the race. Diego has had a topsy-turvy race. It started on pole with a resounding lap in qualifying, and then dropped down to 6th in the opening laps, and then managed to fight his way back through up into the lead, and then lost a load of time by putting it in the wall. Got huge damage, had to come into the pits, and didn't even have the confidence to bring it around to finish the lap. He just retired to the pit box, and obviously it didn't count as his mandatory pit stop, so he's got to come in and do that again as if it didn't even happen, which is going to be an extremely frustrating situation for him. But we're currently watching Gilles Silverin right now as he's coming through the final corner, and he's about to complete lap 23 of this race. So we've got just under a third here of the race to go at the Hungaroring. As we can see, a drive-through penalty has been given to Totally Zero there for speeding in the pit lane. So he can't have been far over the speed limit. He must have been just over the speed limit, because I know for a fact that when you go steaming in, you get a stop-go penalty. But when you go just over the limit, when you're like a couple of miles an hour over, it gives you a drive-through. So Totally Zero must have been just over the limit. But obviously, rules are rules. You've got to draw the line somewhere, haven't you? And Totally Zero clearly has just gone over that a little bit. As a result, he has fallen foul of the race stewards, and they have said, "Sorry, mate, but you've pushed your luck, and unfortunately, that's going to be a penalty." Noticing on the timing screen here that error codes managed to pull up onto the back of Fierce Mars a little bit here. These guys running in 9th and 10th places, kind of in a battle of their own. They're not really anywhere near anybody else at this point. But Fierce Mars currently holding up to this. Error code has actually lost a bit of time there coming through the middle sector, so error code's now just over a second off of the back of Fierce Mars. Sharkazuli saying Fierce Mars just passed Error Code. Ah, okay. Good point there, mate. So actually, it's not really a battle. Fierce Mars was behind Error Code. He's now ahead of him. And you can see actually now quite clearly he is pulling away. So, yeah, Error Code losing out there to Fierce Mars. Fierce Mars now into clean air, can now drive away into the distance. As Totally Zero's... Did he just get another? No, he hasn't. No, that was the same one that we already knew about before. So yeah, that's the same. Nothing new, nothing we didn't already know about. It's just that it still hasn't been dealt with. But currently, Gilles Silverin still out the front. Has got nearly a 30-second lead over Nathan at the moment. But obviously, Gilles Silverin in no real major hurry to come into the pits. You know, there's plenty of laps left in this race, isn't there? 16 minutes. It's not a rush. It's not really urgent, is it? At the end of the day. Just, you know, whenever's convenient, whenever works for him, really. I guess it's no major hurry, as I said before. You know, it'll happen when it happens. Obviously, it can't be that much of a problem, I guess, can it? But hey. As I'm noticing there on the timing screen, Diego's picked up a stop-go penalty here for speeding in the pit lane, so he must have been absolutely hot-footing it there through the pits. And Diego, what a shame there for him. He's now going to have to come in and stop in his box for 30 seconds, so not just a drive-through, but a real massive kick in the teeth there for him. We've lost 2 drivers as well. Who else have we lost? Because I knew obviously we lost a few before, but we've now lost... Who have we lost? It must have been a disconnection, because it's not one of the front runners. Oh, sorry, it's not one of the back markers. Who have we lost? Hold on. Oh, we lost Day. So Day has left the session. I don't know what happened today. It must have been a disconnection, because he wasn't in a terrible position by any means. He was in, well, he's third. He's still yet to pit, but he wasn't in a... There was no reason for him to retire, so Day must have been a disconnection there. We lost Day. We also lost another driver before Day as well. So I wonder if it's been 2 disconnections maybe. Maybe some problems here with the server, potentially causing us some problems. Fierce Mars was the other one, who also wasn't in a terrible position either. So we've lost Day and Fierce Mars from the session, which is a bit of a shame, because that definitely points towards server issues, I've got to say. More than likely that is the problem. Big news here, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a battle here between Spur Time and Exeron, but the really big news here, Jill Silverman has picked up a drive-through penalty, so he's going to have to come and do that drive-through. It looks like he's doing it right now here. So this is a huge turn-up for this race, because this could potentially give this man here a race victory. What a turnout this would be for Spur Time. Or it could give Exeron the race win. So this could be the battle for the lead here between Spur Time and Exeron right now that we're watching here, as these two coming into the final sector. Jill Silverin is about to complete his drive-through penalty, so he's going to come out well ahead of these two, but he's still got a mandatory pit stop to go, and these two are just coming into the penultimate corner. So Jill Silverin just going into turn 1. These two are about 25 seconds behind Jill Silverin on the track at the moment. So this is a huge opportunity. It was maybe about a bit more than that, maybe about 30 seconds. Let's have a look on the timing board. Oh, I don't think it's not 45 seconds. No way. No, it's about 30 seconds that these guys are behind Jill Silverin right now. So Jill Silverin's pit stop is going to be longer than 30 seconds. I think we can guarantee that. This is going to make Spur Time and Exeron's battle right here, which is currently for 3rd place, the battle for the net lead of the race. This is absolutely huge here, as we've got probably about 6 or 7 laps left to go, depending on when whoever's the race leader by the time we get to the end crosses the line. that will determine how many laps we have left. But this battle right here is technically for the net race lead right now, which is unbelievable. When you think about what was going on earlier on, you had a three-way battle for the lead between Totally Zero K, Diego, and Jill Silverin. And obviously Diego dropped it, got damaged. Totally Zero had a bit of a problem, and basically just lost a load of time. And Jill Silverin now, with the race seemingly under control, has picked up a drive-through penalty, which he has already served, but he's only 30 seconds clear of this battle right now, and obviously he has still got to make his mandatory pit stops. So Jill Silverin, I think, is going to be set to lose this race unless he can gain 10 seconds on these two, which isn't completely impossible, as Exteron's making a move ahead of Spur Time, and he gets it done going into the penultimate corner, and Spur Time flashing his lights there. Does Spur Time not know this could be for the race win? Or was it an indignant flash of lights? I'm not sure if it was an indignance or whether it was a go on, off, or go on through you go, mate. But Spur Time might not realise that this is technically for the race lead here. As we're coming out of the last corner. No, it wasn't a through you go, mate kind of flash. It was definitely an indignant flash, because you can see here he's trying to tuck into that slipstream, so he's trying to get a tow here, trying to come back at Exeron. This is still race on here between these guys. But this, as I said before, is now for the race lead, with Jill Silverin not far enough ahead here. Nath running in second place, also got a pit. Nath will probably come out in P4, I would imagine, but Jill Silverin, as it stands, will come out in third place behind these two, Exeron and Spur Time. So he's still on the podium as it stands, but he's going to really have to grind in the final part of this race. And this is going to be absolutely huge. This is unbelievable. It really is. It's quite a shock. But currently Jill Silverin leading by 4.6 seconds at the moment. And yeah, this was not what we expected to see, I don't think. We didn't expect to see Exeron and Spur Time battling over the lead. Well, Exeron is now actually gapping Spur Time a bit, so Exeron now cementing his position out what is technically in the lead of this race, the net lead. Spur Time here coming under pressure from one of the back markers, that's Diego, who is the quickest man out there tonight. He's got the fastest lap, he got pole position. He was at one point the race leader, but things went south very quickly for him. As Jill Silverin coming into the pits here at the end of lap 30. So now we're going to find out how far ahead Exeron's going to be. And Jill Silverin hasn't even stopped in his box yet. As in the background there's somebody goes into the wall. Was that Spur Time? No, it wasn't Spur Time. Or was it? No, it wasn't. It wasn't Spur Time. Was it Diego? Oh, it was Diego again. So Diego making another huge error there. As Jill Silverin is now back out on the track. So he pitted at the end of lap 29. We're on lap 30 right now, and Nath is currently your race leader. How much longer is Spur Time? He's within 3 seconds of Exeron right now. So this man here, technically your net race leader out this stage. How far back is Jill Silverin off of Spur Time? I think he's nowhere near him. Yeah, he's at least 20 seconds behind him. So Jill Silverin's not going to figure in this battle in any way, shape or form with either Exeron or Spur Time. And it's not really a battle between Exeron and Spur Time, because Exeron is now nearly 4 seconds clear of Spur Time. So there is no battles to be had in that situation. As Nath is into the pits, and he's got a bit of damage there on the front of the car, but nonetheless into the pits he goes. So Nath, I think, will probably come up behind Jill Silver. He'll probably come out in maybe P5, maybe? No, probably lower than that. No, Nath is actually back out on track, so he'll come out P6 behind Luke van der Street. It's going to be quite close, actually. Nathan and Luke side by side here, and Nath just stays ahead of Luke, but Luke's going to get a run here coming down towards turn 2. He's going to have to tuck in. He hasn't got enough of a run, I don't think. He's actually looking down the inside here. Here's Luke van der Street. Goes deep into turn 2, gets on the marbles on the outside. And Luke van der Street's not able to get Nath there, so Nath holding on to P4 by the skin of his teeth. Will now start to get those tyres up to temperature. But in the meantime, Exeron leads by over 4 seconds and seems to have this race in the bag. Spur time. Obviously had that position, but Exeron got ahead of him and duly dispatched him with ease and has just driven off into the distance here as Exeron. But obviously it's been very fortuitous. He was the 4th quickest man out there tonight. It was a drive through for Jill Silverin and huge errors for Tony Zero and Diego. Those 3 were fighting over the lead for a long time in this race, and then it was obviously Exeron who's managed to benefit from everything that's gone on in front of him here. But to be fair, you know, in order to finish first you must finish, as the old cliche goes. And Exeron certainly has stayed consistently, has been as consistent as anything here tonight at the Hungaroring, and fair play to him. He has not put a foot wrong, and he's going to reap the rewards for it as things stand. As he's coming through turn 2 right now, he's 5 seconds clear of Spur Time, running in 2nd place. And you know, got to give it to Spur Time as well, because 2nd place here tonight will be a great result for him. Some really strong points. I can't imagine he'll be too disappointed with that. Oh, it's Spur Time. I just looked up from my screen. Sorry, I was reading on the Discord server there. Spur Time's picked up a drive-through penalty here with 2 laps left to go. I think that might lose him P2 here. It might be quite close with Jill Silver in. So Jill Silver might inherit a P2 here. And what has happened with... What's gone on with... oh no, they've come into the pits, so... Actually, yeah, that's right, but... whereas Jill Silverin, he's coming down the start-finish straight now. Spur Time's nearly at the end of the pits, but Jill Silverin is going to get him here, and quite comfortably as well. So Jill Silverin moves into 2nd place. Spur Time just coming out now. Might be close with Luke van der Streets, actually. Luke van der Streets could be on for a podium here. What a result that would be for him. Spur Time there on the inside. Luke van der Streets with a heavily damaged Beamer there on the outside. Spur Time staying ahead for the time being, as we should, I think, be on the final lap here. But Luke van der Street's pressuring the back of Spur Time. Spur Time will be on cold tyres. Can Luke van der Street's catch him out here on this final lap of the race? It's going to be a 33 lap race altogether here tonight for this 2nd round here in the GT3 Championship here at Motive on ACC. Luke van der Street's all over him right now. Luke looking down the inside into the chicane here on Spur Time, but can't do anything right now. It's Remster in the background here. Can see a P3, but I think it's a bit too late. We're on the final lap, let's not forget. Luke van der Street's looking all over Spur Time. Spur Time just parking his car Luke van der Street's looking all over the place. In the meantime, Exeron's coming out on the final corner. He's going to take the race victory here tonight at the Hungaroring. He had to make sure that he was in the right place at the right time, and with everybody else having nightmares here in front of him, Exeron is your race winner here for round 2 of season 4. For tier 2, Jill Silverin coming into the final few corners is going to take second place. He's going to be fuming with that because he had the win on the plate with Totally 0k and Diego both bottling it, but could not make the most of it. Leximate has finished a lap down in P10. Jill Silverin flashed the lights nonetheless. Some strong points in the bag there for him. Spur Time is going to hold on for the final podium place here ahead of Luke van der Street, with Remster over the line to complete a photo finish there for third place. But it's Spur Time ahead of Luke van der Street and Remster in third, fourth and fifth places. Nath J. Fletch is going to come over the line to take P6 here in the end, with Snoopy just coming through the final corner. He'll finish this one in 7th place as he comes up and over the line now. Error code coming into the final sector. Totally Zero is just also coming into the final sector now. Diego's in the pits. He hasn't moved for a few laps, so he's already retired from the race. But Error code here coming into the final corner. It's going to be 8th place here for him in this one. As here he comes out onto the start finish straight and over the line. Totally Zero will be next over the line, I think. So here he comes round the final corner. P11 for Totally Zero. Not the race that he was hoping for after being involved in the fight for the lead in the early stages. Chris is going to come out of the final corner and he's just going to hold off a charging Exeron, who I think has already taken the checkered flag, obviously the race winner. But yeah, Chris though over in 9th place. And that is that then for tier 2, guys. Stay tuned, we'll be back very shortly for the tier 1 race. Give me 10 minutes or so. I'll have the session on the screen, but I won't be on my comms until a little way in. But yeah, we will be on the comms very shortly, guys. So yeah, join us in a few moments time. Welcome back, guys. Sorry for the little delay getting on the mic here for the tier 1s here tonight. Just trying to sort a few things out in the background because we've only got our usual contingent of tier 1 races here tonight. I know it's Easter Sunday and me, as I just was on my headphones for a second there. You hear my studio mic, my voice on. I sound a lot more clearer now. But yeah, essentially, it's Easter today, and I know it's a bit of a difficult one. A lot of people with their families, and a lot of people are busy doing other things. So the turnouts haven't been too great. We have got a couple of reserves from tier 2. I am looking to promote a couple of drivers from tier 2 into tier 1, so this could potentially become a permanent arrangement with a funny looking guy and Totally Zero K, maybe if they want it, because Totally Zero especially has got good pace. We've seen that in tier 2. Basically, any of the guys who are within, you know, a second of the quickest pace in tier 2, I'd be happy to promote to tier 1 because the gap between the two leagues is not actually that much. In fact, the tier 2 pole sitter would be P4 on this leaderboard right now, so you know it's not a huge golfing class between the tier 1 and the tier 2, that's for sure. So yeah, I'm happy to let tier 2 drivers move up, but essentially the situation coming into tonight is that because it's Easter, the turnouts hasn't been too great, so there are a couple of tier 2 drivers who may or may not be permanently in this tier 1 for the remainder of this season. But Titus in the house is currently your provisional pole sitter, not by very much though. It's by less than a tenth of a second here over Robe, so it's quite a close leaderboard between those two. Robe obviously promoted from tier 2 last season, was the champion of tier 2 over the course of the season, and has really jumped up and done a superb job here in tier 1 since he got his promotion. Last week at Spa we saw he was in the battle for the win for much of the race, and unfortunately it was a crash coming out of Radion out onto the Camel Straight, which really did him over, as he was actually on course for challenging for that victory. But yeah, hopefully Robe can avoid any incidents tonight, and maybe challenge Titus maybe. But Titus obviously very quick driver. We know that he's good friends with Jazzman, and with Jazzman's absence this season, Titus is going to be absolutely desperate, I think, to properly go for a title push. Guido Christ is currently P4. Can he improve on 4th? No, he doesn't. He stays in P4 for the time being. High grades out there at the moment coming to the middle sector. You've got Henry also coming to the middle sector. Mary Louise is coming into the pits, so he's making a stop. You've got a funny looking guy in the pits, so is Kev Sim. Caprigia is just coming through the middle part of the lap. You've got PS Vids, who's just brought it into the pits, so he's not going to improve at the end of this session. This is actually a track where PS Vids has taken a win before. He won the final race of the season here in Season 2, where he wrapped up the championship. But we've got a lot of drivers who I think have improved a lot since then. And PS Vids currently sat in 11th place on this leaderboard, so he'll have a lot of work to do if he is to repeat the feat, obviously, of winning the final race of the season in Season 2. I think most of the drivers are in the pits now, so I don't think anybody's going to be improving at the end of this session. Arlampa's in the pits, a funny looking guy, so is Caprigia. Kangi also in the pits. I think everyone's in the pits except Scuderia Paul here. So what can Scuderia Paul do? Can he improve from P14? He can't improve. He did improve his lap time, but didn't improve his position. So that is that then for this one. So it's Tyner's taking pole by just under a tenth of a second ahead of Robe, with Arlampa in 3rd place and Guido Christ joining him on the 2nd row, with High Grade in 5th ahead of Henry, followed by Mary Louise and Kevsim. A fun looking guy in 9th ahead of Caprigia, and then we've got BS Vids ahead of Kangi, followed by Lowell 3000, with a Scuderia Paul in 14th. Max Power, did he join? It looks like he joined and then left. Totally Zero K will start this one from P15. Here we are, guys. Welcome back to the Motive channel. We're here for the Tier 1s tonight for round 2 of Season 4 here on ACC for the PlayStation 5 GT3 Championship. As we've got 15 drivers on the track, we've got a couple of reserves here for the Tier 2s tonight. A funny looking guy jumping in, and also Tony Zero as well. Tony Zero impressed in the Tier 2 race, but had a bit of an incident which dropped him down the order. He actually had the pace to challenge for the win in Tier 2. He's jumping in as a reserve for Tier 1 here tonight. Now obviously I will be offering a permanent seat to Totally Zero in Tier 1 because he's got the pace. I think himself, Diego and Jules Silver, and I'll be offering those three a space in Tier 1 after this week for definite, because we do need to fill a couple of spaces in Tier 1. Also I'll be looking to try and add a few drivers to Tier 2 as well, because we are looking to try and fill that out a little bit, but obviously we need to move a couple of drivers from Tier 2 to Tier 1 before we fill up Tier 2. But yeah, essentially there are spaces going right now, guys. If anybody's is on the PlayStation 5 looking to get involved, then be sure to go to www.motiveracing.com. As here we're coming out of the final corner now. It's going to be Tinus in the house to get us underway. Robe on the outside of him, with Arlamper and Guido Chris behind them on the second row. It's going to be a fascinating Tier 1 event here for round 2 of Season 4 here at Motive, as we're coming up towards the line, and it's green, green, green. We are racing now down towards turn 1. Tinus gets a good start. Robe there might have to tuck in here. He's got a lot of drivers behind him. We can see side by side here between Arlamper and the McLaren of Guido Chris. There's Arlamper looking down the inside, goes very late on the brakes. He's down the inside of Robe as well. Robe getting a bit pushed out there onto the runoff, as that's Arlamper up into P2, and Robe's also lost out here to Guido Chris. So Guido Chris up into 3rd place. Robe looking back down the inside into turn 2. He's going to 7 up the inside there. Guido Chris gives him the space on the inside, and who's going to come out on top in this one? Robe looks to have got the run around the outside. Guido Chris there holding on, and Robe had to get out of that a little bit there, and might be vulnerable to the Audi of Henry, who's looking to the outside here up towards turn 4. Robe should be able to run him out of road there and hold on to 4th place though, but it's Tinus from Arlamper, from Guido Chris from Robe. There's Henry in 5th ahead of Kevsin, followed by Merida, he's ahead of PS Fitz, and you've got Kangi, Totally Zero running in 11th place right now, ahead of Scuderia Paul Caprigia. Low 3000 has had a mistake here. He's dropped well off at the back of the pack here in P14, and High Grade in 15th place right now is well off of everybody else. And a funny looking guy has had an incident and he's in the wall. So a funny looking guy here, looks like he's out of the race here on the opening lap. That could not have been a worse start there for him. We saw a similar situation with Sharka Zulu at the beginning of the Tier 2 race, and a funny looking guy racing as a reserve here in this Tier 1 race appears to be out of it already. But looking at the battle here for the lead, it's currently Tinus pulling away, so it's not really a battle for the lead, but there is a battle going on for 2nd place right now between Arlamper, Guido Chris, Robe and Henry. You've got Kev Sim there ahead of Mary Louise, followed by PS Fitz, Kangi. There's Totally Zero up into P10 ahead of Scuderia Paul, followed by Caprigia, and there's Lowell 3000 there running in 13th place, a little way clear of High Grade, who appears to have had a nightmare of a first lap. I don't know where he made a mistake, but it must be in the middle sector somewhere, but he's down in 14th place here in this one, so he's had a bit of an incident, and no surprise, we've lost a funny looking guy who had that mistake coming through the first sector, and he is our first retirement from this Tier 1 race. Guido Chris attacking on the back of Arlamper into turn 1, but no moves so far. Everybody's just playing it safe, tucking in for the time being, and Tinus here leading by just over a second as they're coming into turn 2 on lap 2 of the race. So obviously only 14 of them currently racing here tonight at the Hungaroring, down to the fact that it's Easter Sunday, and yeah, generally a lot of people busy on Easter Sunday, so the numbers haven't been too great. We had 17 turnout for Tier 2, we had 15 turnout for Tier 1, and obviously we've lost one already here, so a 30 driver turnout, not the worst, but probably we would have hoped for better, I'm sure. Well, I know, I'm not, you know, I know that for a fact. We would hope for better, but it is what it is. And yeah, sometimes you've just got to take what you're given. As low 3000 there, wide onto the grass coming out of the chicane, but just getting it back on the track. High Grade's now reeling him in, so low 3000's had a really shaky start to this race, I'll tell you that. He's had a bit of a nightmare, as Henry's dropped it somewhere, because Henry's dropping down the order here, so he's dropped behind, he was in 4th, he's now dropped behind Kev Sim, Mary Louise and PS Vids. And Henry here is definitely looking in a bit of trouble at the moment. He's got Kangi and Totally Zero K quite close on the back of him here as they're coming to the penultimate corner. You see Kangi almost tagging him in the back there, coming through that section of the track. But for the time being, tucking in behind him as though he's looking to try and get a run here coming out of the final corner. Can Kangi make a move here down the start finish straight? I think he's a little bit too far back to be close enough to make a move into turn 1 here on Henry. As Tynus still leading. There's the battle for second place, which is going on between Arlampa, Guido, Kristen and Robe. They've gapped Kevsim by a considerable amount. You can see Kevsim in the background there, 3 seconds behind these guys right now. But here they come into turn 2, and Arlampa still just ahead of Guido, Krist and Robe at this point. As they all file through turn 2 here. Arlampa's lost out to Guido, Kristen and Robe here as well. So what's happened to Arlampa? It must have been a mistake there coming through the first part of the middle sector. He's got damage on the front of the car. He must have lost it and gone into the wall a little bit. So he's now in 4th place, but he might be paddling at this point. Depends how severe the damage is. It's hard to tell just by what we're looking at there. You can see the front has taken a bit of a whack. Is that going to be affecting his performance considerably enough to drop him a few places? You can see there Kevsim was already onto the back of him. So Kevsim has reeled in 3 seconds already through this middle sector. So I think that Arlampa has got some severe damage and will probably be well advised to come into the pits at the end of this lap. You can see that Kevsim's all over him coming into the penultimate corner. You've got Mary Louise in the background. There's PS Fids, Henry and Kangi not too far away with Totally Zero as well on the back of them right now. But Arlampa appears to be staying out. So whatever damage he's got, he's preparing to stick with it for the time being. Maybe he feels that he can gain more by staying out and not changing tyres in his pit stop or sticking with his full fuel strategy. He feels like he can gain more from that than he would lose from the damage. But Kevsim breezing past and Mary Louise doing the same. So they're finding it absolutely no problem whatsoever to get ahead of Arlampa. Arlampa's now got PS Fids and Henry in hot pursuit with Kangi and Totally Zero K right there as well. So we've got side by side here, and Arlampa, his mate, is being overtaken there, rounding outside by Henry. Kangi's going to follow him through as well. Totally Zero K surely going to get him. No, Arlampa just staying ahead of Totally Zero at the moment, but they're all picking him off left, right and centre. PS Fit currently leading this train of cars, which is going all the way from 6th down to 10th place here. As Henry getting it a little bit wrong there as they come into the chicane, but nothing doing. But Kevsim's still running in 4th place. It's got just over a second at the moment to Mary Louise. PS Vid still hassling the back of Mary Louise right now. Arlampa's got Caprigia pressuring him for P10. And Arlampa's race has pretty much gone down the toilet very quickly here. Seb says in the comments, no criticism, just a question, why do you freely offer tier 1 places? It was kind of always the plan, I won't lie to you. The start of this season I knew we didn't really have enough drivers in tier 1. We started this season with 19 registered drivers and about 5 or 6 reserves. Now obviously because it's Easter as well it makes it worse, but last week we actually had 21 drivers turn out for tier 1. So we had a couple of reserves and we also had everybody turn up as well, so we're quite lucky. But we had 21 drivers turn up last week. The only problem is I knew we'd need to promote some tier 2 drivers, so I wanted to let the first couple of rounds go and see who we could maybe promote and then fill up those tier 2 places with new drivers, you know, after the first couple of weeks. That was always the plan, because I did kind of leave things a little bit late, I won't lie to you. Robe there on the back of Guido Chris, you can see these two coming through the left-hander into the middle sector, so it's looking quite tight between these two. They're well ahead of Kevsim, so they are battling it out over second place. Tynus is disappearing off into the distance here in the lead of the race though. Mary Louise still just ahead of PS Fids and Henry right now. You've got Kangi ahead of Totally Zero K. They're all in a bit of a scrap here for what is P5 at the moment. So they're saying also, when will you watch a base sports event? Let me know. Message me when there's a base sports event. I'll check out the Discord. I'll have a look. I'll have a look and see. I'll chime in when you're on. As we've lost a driver here by the looks of it. So let me just check and see who that is, because I'm absolutely certain that somebody's retired from the race. Just find out. It's our Lamper. So our Lamper, obviously with his damage earlier on, has now decided to call it a day very early on here in this race. As this is the train of cars here for 4th place. Kevson's got a bit of a gap back to Merida. He's got PS5 just ahead of Henry at the moment. Kangi and Totally Zero clinging onto the back of these guys right now. Totally Zero obviously a reserve here tonight for Tier 1. But by the way, just to put it out there, I wasn't freely offering spaces in Tier 1 for the Tier 2 drivers. I was offering them to the top drivers in Tier 2. So they were the only ones who were getting offered spaces. Nobody else was getting offered spaces. Only the ones who were at the top of Tier 2, like the ones who were, say, within, a few tenths of the pole time. They're the ones who are offered spaces, and most of them couldn't do it, obviously, because most people aren't up for 2 races, or they haven't really planned that as part of their evening. But a couple of them did take me up on the offer, and obviously one of them was Totally Zero. The other one was a funny looking guy who crashed out on lap 1. But yeah, interesting start to this race. As we see Robe's now ahead of Guidachrist, and Guidachrist has dropped it somewhere, so I'm not sure what happened there to Guidachrist, but he's now nearly 3 seconds behind Robe. And I'll be interested to see what the situation is with the strategy here, because Tyler's obviously leading the race, but as he half tanked it, is he going for a tyre change here? Is Robe maybe full tanking it? Potentially that could be an option here for Robe, and if that is the case, then we'll probably see that gap sort of neutralised over the course of the race. Or who knows, maybe they are both half tanking it, maybe they're both full tanking it, and maybe Robe has just struggled a bit behind Guidachrist. Maybe he might be able to now close that gap now he's in clean air. But Guidachrist coming into the pits, and he's got damage on the front of the car, so he's going to come in and get that repaired early here in this race. The lucky thing for him is that there's no mandatory pit window, so you can come in at any point during the hour. As Henry went very deep there into turn 1, and Kangi's going to surely get him on the exit here. They're side by side here down towards turn 2. You can see Kangi just slightly getting the march here, but Henry on the inside will have the preferred line going through turn 2, and will hold on to that position. So Henry surviving that little scare just there. But Guidachrist still in the box at the moment and has not moved. PS5 still just ahead of Henry and Kangi at this point. Totally Zero there running in 8th place. You've got Lampiner in the comments saying, Andy, I have 1.5 minute damage. I'm stupid. I always pin it when I'm fast. I'm stupid. So doing a Charles Leclerc there, aren't you, Lamper? Like the reference. But yeah, unlucky, mate. Unlucky. Hopefully we can see you convert a strong performance and a strong qualifying performance into a good race performance next week. Obviously Watkins Glen. So yeah, unlucky this time out, mate, but better luck in the next one, and it'd be good to see you come back stronger. As Andy, he says, good night, Andy and Co. Says Seb. Good night, mate. Have a good evening, and yeah, enjoy your week. If I don't speak to you or see you in the comments at any point, and yeah, I'll try and catch a base sports stream at some point soon. I'll definitely keep an eye out. Yeah, I'll check out your Discord and have a look at your stream section on there. Just keep an eye out, see when I can tune in and check it out, because you're always supporting our streams. I sometimes feel a bit bad when I see your name. I've thought about this a few times when I've seen your name popping up in our streams all the time, and I think, you know what, he's always supporting our streams. I'd be interested to see what you guys are up to as well. We got Henry looking to the inside here on PS Vids into turn 1, but just a little bit too far back just at the moment. But these guys are losing time to Mary Louise, who is now 2.5 seconds up the road. Henry now looking down the inside of PS Vids in towards turn 2, and he's going to make this move. He goes late on the brakes. PS Vids is surely going to go for a cut back here out of turn 2. He just squeezes back ahead, and you can see the Bentley here of Kangi now attacking, but Henry keeps ahead of the Bentley. But that's PS Vids currently surviving for the time being ahead of Henry, just about. by the skin of his teeth there. Seb saying, don't worry, it's all good, don't worry at all. Just would love to have you in the chat and talking to you. Would love to have you there. Feel free to watch. I'm sure you'll be surprised. We'll definitely DM this week. Yeah, for sure. We definitely need to do some comms together again, man, at some point as well. I mean, if you're ever getting into, I don't know what you guys are doing on sim racing at the moment, but I'll definitely get involved in your sim racing stuff. You know, if you need any help with that. I know you're not really too much into console, but obviously PS5 very relevant at this point. So, you know, and probably for the next couple of years, I imagine PS5 is going to be pretty big. So, you know, if you ever want to set something up on the PS5, you know, feel free to shoot a DM my way. I'll be more than happy to help. I really would. But yeah, PSVid's still leading this train of cars, which has got Henry, Kangi and Totally Zero very much on his heels. But Mary Louise has gapped these guys considerably now, and he's actually closed up onto the back of Kevsim here. So Mary Louise knocking on the door of a podium place. It's been a solid drive from him so far here in this one. And yeah, for sure, it's going to be an opportunity for him to make the most of a depleted grid, and obviously we're missing a few big names here tonight. So Merido, he's driving an absolute cracker. You've got PSVids just ahead of Henry and Kangi with Totally 0K right there as well. There's Caprigia in the background just coming into turn 1. Lol 3000 all over the back of Scuderia Paulus. These guys are coming out of the final corner as well. So can Lol 3000 get a good run here and potentially be able to go for a move going into turn 1? You can see he's picking up some good speed here as he's now looking down the inside into turn 1, but Paul has just got enough over him at the moment and survives for the time being. Tynus in the meantime is actually being reeled in by Robe. Robe's got the gap at under 2 seconds, so potentially I think maybe Robe might have actually half tanked it and Tynus may have full tanked it, because his pace that he's got now, he's in clear air. Now he's ahead of Kevsim, who he was battling with. No, it's Guido Chris who he was battling with before, not Kevsim. But he was obviously battling Guido Chris before Guido Chris made his mistake. But now that Robe's in clean air, he's so much quicker than Tynus. I think he might be on a different strategy. So he'd be looking to try and get ahead of Tynus as quickly as he can here, and try and pull out as big a gap as he can to have a chance in the strategic battle. Obviously with Tynus, is probably going to have a much quicker pit stop, but Robe will have quicker tyres if he changes tyres in the mid part of the stint. So it's going to be fascinating to see what he does here. But Mary Louise on the back of Kev Sim, you can see these guys coming through the final corner. Seb there says, for sim racing we're doing Formula 1 crossplay, 200 euro prize pool, iRacing as well. Okay, F1, yeah, I could do that. I could get involved with F1 because crossplay, obviously, you know, we could do that. I don't know whether, yeah, well, we could do it on Discord. I could join you on the comments for Discord. Are you commentating on the F1? I'd love to join you for that. 9 is not bad at all in ACC. He says, happy with 9th in tier 2. Yeah. Oh, that's in response to Chris there. Yeah, Chris did a very good job in tier 2. Got to say, consistency is key. And you kept in there, you kept going. You know, perseverance does pay off, especially in the championship with points. What night are you doing F1, Seb? Let me know, because this I'm very interested. I'm very interested. As long as it doesn't clash with any of ours. Again, Sunday could be a problem, and that's the night that everyone does F1. We do F1 on Friday, but we finish at around 8. So Friday could be an option. We'll talk in Discord. Cool. Tynus will be full tanking. It's his normal strategy, says Archie. It is normally, but around a track like this, maybe not. I'm thinking maybe Hungary could be the anomaly because it is quite a high tire deck circuit. I'm thinking if there's any track where he wouldn't adopt that strategy, it would probably be here. But who knows, honestly. But Henry a bit wide there in the background. He's got damage on his car, so he's now falling off for the back of this battle here, which is still being fought out by PS Fitz, Kangi and Totally 0K. But Henry here with a bit of trouble. Surely he's going to come into the pits, but then again, he's one of the drivers who usually also full tanks it and doesn't change tyres, so it would really screw his strategy to come in now. So he's probably going to just suffer. Oh, Kangi's lost it. Kangi's binned it there coming through the final corner, so Kangi there loses out. PS Fids and Totally Zero moving through. And in fact, Totally Zero, has he been caught up in something? Because Totally Zero is over 2 seconds behind PS Fids. and it's got Henry now pulling up onto the back of him, so they all seem to be dropping it. Totally zero Henry, and now Kangi, obviously with the biggest mistake of all of them, is now nowhere near them. Caprigi has moved through into 8th place ahead of Kangi here, and PS Vid's now looking very comfortable in 5th place. He's 7 seconds behind Mary Louise though, so I don't know whether he's got the pace to be able to reel Mary Louise in. But at the moment he's got a reasonable cushion back to these guys who are battling for P6 and 7. Good evening all, says Raki. Welcome Raki, good to see you mate. Chris says in the comments, is it top 6 that get points? Oh, are you talking to Seb or me? Because the top 6 get promotion in tier 2. Everyone gets points though, it's points all the way down. As that was a hiccup, I do apologise. But Seb says, no, I've got to genuinely go to bed, have to be up in 8 hours. Oh, you poor thing. Oh, welcome to my world, mate. What's that? That'll be about, what, 6 o'clock your time? I think we're pretty much getting up at the same time, because I've got to be up at 5 tomorrow morning. So we'll be getting up about the same time, which is absolutely drab, and I'm going to be shattered. But yeah, have a good one, mate. Good to see you, and yeah, catch you later. But yeah, Chris saying hi to Raki. Raki says, hey Chris, how was your race? He did very well, Raki. I'll let Chris tell you the rest. Seb says, yeah, 6:30 AM because I have to work, and then uni. Good night, good night. See you later. Chris M. Okay, wasn't sure how the points work. Yeah, everybody gets points. The top 6 in the league actually get promotion to tier 1 at the end of the season. So if you're really consistent, you know, it's not completely out of the question, but yeah, it's not easy. Shout out to Scuderia Paul, says Raki running in P11 at the moment is Paul. Having a good battle actually with Law 3000 by the looks of it as well, as these two are coming through the penultimate corner. They're kind of in a battle sort of away from everybody else at this point. Paul there a little bit loose there coming out of the penultimate corner, but still holding on to the position. Law 3000 might be going for a bit of a cutback here out of the last corner. That's Kangi coming into the pits with his damage here at the end of lap 11, but Scuderia Paul here has got Lol 3000 right on him here as they're coming down towards turn 1, and Lol 3000 pulls out the slipstream here, looking down the inside, but he's too far back. Paul goes late on the brakes. Does he go deep? He does go a little bit deep, and Lol 3000 looking to try and get a cut back here, coming down towards turn 2. They're side by side here. Scuderia Paul's going to park it on the inside, and Lol 3000 nowhere to go. Paul holds on, goes a little bit deep through turn 2 though. And Lol 3000 looking to try and get underneath him here, and he's going to do it, I think. Paul's still there. They're side by side coming out of turn 3, and Paul just clings on to that position. Great battling from these two, and Scuderia Paul holding on to 11th place by the skin of his teeth, as Kangi there still in the pits, and Robe pretty much a second behind Tynus at this point, but we don't know what the strategies are. We don't know if Robe's half tanking it. We think speculation has it that Tynus is probably running a full tank, because he usually does, but I was saying earlier on, if there's one track where you're gonna go for a half tank and change your tyres, it would be here, because tyre deg is quite substantial compared to other places around this circuit. Kevson and Mary Louise, they're going into turn 1 at the moment. And Robe's still on the back of Tynus at this point as well. By the way guys, I just want to give you all a bit of an update. Basically right now I've got a really painful, I don't know what it is, but it's like something in the corner of my mouth. I did mention this at the start of the tier 2 stream, but basically there's something in at the back of my mouth which is really, really painful, and it's bothering me a little bit. I'm kind of trying to use the muscles in my face that don't involve, I'm trying to not use the right side of my face, but it is proving a little bit testy at this point. So if I do kind of be quiet for a couple of minutes, it's just because I'm trying to recover a little bit. But at the moment, Kevsim just ahead of Mary Louise. This is the battle for the final podium spot at this point. We're on lap 13 of this race. Tier 2 completed 33 laps of the circuit, so I imagine we'll probably be doing that, maybe 34 if they're a bit quicker in Tier 1. We'll have to see how it all pans out. But Raki there just letting Chris know he's going to watch back the tier 2s. Yeah, definitely give it a watch, mate. We've been a bit down on numbers tonight. We had 17 turn out for tier 2. We've had 13 of the tier 1 drivers turn out. So 30 drivers across both tiers. Not really what we wanted. You know, I would have hoped for considerably more, but I suppose it's to be expected on a day like Easter, when there are a lot of people doing, you know, busy with stuff. So ultimately, I don't think we can really complain too much. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame, I've got to say. Tynus in the meantime has got Robe on the back of him, so they're coming through the chicane. They're a little way clear of Kevsim, who's still got Mary Louise on the back of him right now. PS Vidster running in P5, a couple of seconds clear of Totally 0K, and Henry is still battling over P6 and 7 at this point. Capriga just ahead of High Grade as well. Scuderia Paul's got Low 3000 looking down his inside into turn 1. Low 3000 just a little bit too far back at the moment though. Can he go for a bit of a run down to turn 2? You can see there Paul weaving around a little bit. Low 3000 looking to the inside here into turn 2. Is he going to go for it? No, he's not. Scuderia Paul covers every eventuality off there. But Low 3000 looking to try and get a bit of a run here coming through turn 3. Can he get a run here up to turn 4? No, he can't. So Paul there parking his car in all the right places at the moment. Totally 0K just ahead of Henry as they're coming into the final sector. You can see Henry ever so wide there onto the runoff area. With the damage on his car, he's struggling to keep up with Totally Zero at this point. So Henry here maybe would be advised to get in the pits, but potentially he'd lose more time by getting it fixed than he would by just sticking with it. So maybe it's best that he does stick with it. Raki says, I will watch that back tomorrow for sure. Oh, obviously in response to Chris, we already read that. The Lazy Campbell says, have a shot of whiskey, that should sort it out handy. It would, but it would also maybe slur my words and I wouldn't be able to keep up with the action, and I'll just, yeah, it'd just be a bit embarrassing. So tempting, but I think I'll have to pass on that one. Maybe one wouldn't hurt, maybe one would be alright. But Raki there saying Easter family obligations, exactly mate, and that's what I've been saying all night. It's the reason for the fact that only 30 drivers have turned out tonight. Obviously we've got, usually have 40 plus turning out across both tiers, but tonight a little bit down on numbers. Down to that exact reason, as I said, you know, it's down to the fact that it's Easter, and it's just part and parcel with holidays. You know, people are busy, people want to spend it with their family, they're doing other things that don't involve video games, you know. But yeah, currently we're watching this battle here between Tynus and Robe, which is still continuing to rage on, and obviously massive respect to the guys who have turned out tonight, because you know they've gone above and beyond, probably sacrificed some, you know, family quality time to be here as well, some of them. So fair play, you've got to respect their dedication to the cause. I couldn't really sort of skip a week. We had to start the season when we did because we need to be able to fit in enough seasons. We need to do 5 seasons per year basically is what is our target, and if we had started 2 weeks later we wouldn't have been on course to do that. So we had to start the season when we did. It was just a case of damage limitation really, you know, do 1 week where there's maybe not so many people and then recover it for the following weeks. But Kev Sim still ahead of Mary Louise. You can see almost a second now separating them two, so Kev Sim's managed to put out a bit of a buffer. Robe's looking all over the back of Tynus here up towards turn 4, but a little bit too far away. Couldn't get a run. Tynus there defending for everything he has, and is still proving to be a thorn in the side here for Robe. Robe just can't seem to find a way around him, around a track that's so difficult to overtake. Tynus in the house, doing everything he needs to do. Into the chicane they go. 0.2 of a second currently separating these two. 15 if you're currently watching the stream. Guys, smash the like button and show your appreciation for these two in their battle for the lead here at the Hungaroring for round 2 of this season. He's totally zero or totally okay. He's totally okay on PlayStation and he's totally zero on Discord. So yeah, a bit confusing. Robe looking to the inside here on Tynus, coming into the final sector, but still can't make a move at the moment. All that real life interfering with our sim racing careers. Indeed, yeah. All these things like work and obligations and you know, having to pay bills and having to pay rent and having to eat food. It's just, oh, it's such an inconvenience. But Titus in the house here, 0.3 of a second is his gap over Robe as they're coming over the line. Here to start lap 17 as Robe looking to the inside here, looking to try and throw a feint, but Titus is not going to be phased by that. He knows better than to falter under the pressure there. Raki there saying Titus seems a bit less superior than last Wednesday. I think Robe is really putting in the work for this league. For Wednesdays he races as a reserve, so he wasn't really able to put in a practice. He was sort of like a last minute stand-in on Wednesday, whereas this league is the one that he practices for. This is the one where he's a full-time driver. He puts in the effort for this one. This is his creme de la creme. I get the feeling that for the Wednesday league it's more of an arrive and drive for Robe, whereas I think Titus is just, no matter what league it's in, he will practice, he will be competitive. The Wednesday sprint league, it's not, for me personally, and this is the intention, I don't know how it's perceived by drivers, but for me the Wednesday league is a bit more of a fun league, a bit more casual, a bit more sort of like, you know, let off some steam, you know, let your hair down, enjoy yourself kind of night. This Sunday GT3 Championship, it's meant to be the staple. This is like the main event of the week, the blue ribbon event if you like. But the Wednesday one's a bit of fun. That's how I see it personally. I don't know whether the guys kind of see it that way. That's how it's supposed to really be intended. This is like the F1. This is like Formula One, and then you've got like the Wednesday's a bit like NASCAR or IndyCar kind of thing. But Titus and Robe here, just under a second separating these two as they're coming out of the final corner. We're at the halfway point here at the Hungaroring, so currently we're on course to complete 34 laps, but obviously with pit stops coming into play that will probably change. So I reckon it'll be a 33 lap race just like the tier 2 race was. Raki says, well, even Titus is not on top, then I'm still 3 seconds slower. He's an awesome racer. Yeah, he truly is. You know, in the absence of Jazzman, we're seeing Titus, I think, you know, he's the man to beat in this tier 1. There's no doubt about it. And Robe obviously is playing catch up from last week because he made that mistake when he was battling for the lead. Let's not forget, he made that mistake coming out of Radion last week at Spa in the season opener and dropped way down the order. Scored some okay points, but not the greatest. Certainly not what he could have done. And yeah, this season he's playing catch up. He really needs to be finishing ahead of Titus in the remaining races this season, but at least tonight and at least in a few of the next ones, if he is to keep his championship hopes alive. Obviously this is his first season in tier 1, so you can't really knock him for not being in the fight, but I'm sure he'd want to be, you know. I don't think he's here just to make up the numbers, let's just put it that way. PS fits into the pits here nonetheless at the end of lap 17, so he's coming in pretty much at a halfway point, give or take, as Titus and Robe still out there, but yeah, with him coming in at the halfway point, I would imagine he's probably planning on, well, he's probably half tanking it, and you can probably tell actually by the fact that he's been in the box for so long, he's definitely half tanking it and putting tyres on. So he's now off and away, and he knocks the pit board there as well as he comes out. But yeah, PS Fit's back out onto the track here nonetheless as he comes out just behind the McLaren of Kangi. Oh no, not Kangi, sorry, what am I talking about? McLaren of Kangi? What am I on about? Ali, shut up. The McLaren of Gilchrist, sorry. Do you know what it was? I saw the number 11 on the windscreen, which obviously signifies his position, and my brain automatically picked out number 11 car, which is Kangi. So yeah, that's what happened there. But nonetheless, we go back to battle for the lead here. Titus and Robe still separated by not much. Kevs him into the pits here at the end of lap 18, so he's making his mandatory pit stop. That releases Mary Louise into some clean air, and now Mary Louise can really get his foot down and try and get this overcut here on Kevsin. These two have been running pretty close for the duration of this race, and now we're going to be seeing who has truly got the pace over the other. Titus has still got the lead by 0.4 of a second right now over Robe. Kevsim currently in the pits as things stand. Mary Louise still out there right now, and High Grade is on the back of Caprigia here as these guys are coming down towards turn 2 here on lap 19 of the race. But Robe's still keeping the pressure here on Titus. It's certainly not a foregone conclusion this race. It's definitely going to be between these two, I think, for the win, and they've gone well beyond the halfway point now as well, so I reckon it's more than likely that both of them are full tanking it, so they are in the same position here. This is a battle for the lead. This is a battle for position. It's representative as far as we can see. Unless one of them comes in at the end of this lap, I think pretty much we can be safely assured. Oh, maybe not, because Robe's coming in. So I'm not sure now. Maybe that's just throwing it up into a little bit of doubt here. Let's watch as he comes in. Let's see how long he spends in that pit box. But end of lap 19 and Robe's coming into the pits. As Highgrade is still on the back of Capriga and he's put up for 5th and 6th places. Henry's still got Guido Christ on the back of him, just under a second separating those two. But Robe here stops in the box, and let's see how long he is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll tell you what, it's a slow stop here for Robe. So I reckon he's putting some fresh tyres on. Probably some fuel as well. He's probably half tanking it. So Robe will have the fresher tyres at the end of this race. But can he make that work? As Mary Louise also pits here from 3rd place. Can Mary Louise get the... he'll come out ahead of Kevsim. Because Kevsim's got a stop-go penalty. So Mary Louise will pick up a net 3rd place here in this race. As things stand. Which would obviously be very beneficial for him in his points tally for this season. So Robe now coming out of the pits. Tynus is obviously continuing on his way. Mary Louise there with a stop-go penalty, and obviously Kevsim already had one. We already knew about that, as he's now coming in to serve that stop-go penalty. And PS Fids has got a drive-through penalty, and he's doing it now. So PS Fids there, obviously spending the pit lane a little bit, not much, because in order to get done for speeding in the pit lane, you have to go steaming into the pits to get a stop-go. But to get a drive-through, you have to be just over the limit. So PS Fids here coming in, and that's going to be even more frustrating for him in this race. So yeah, not the situation that I think he would have been hoping for at the start. But Mary Louise kind of out of a chance of finishing on the podium here potentially now. So I reckon that's going to give probably Henry and Guido Christ a battle for a podium place, unless I'm very much mistaken here. With Kevsim and Mary Louise both picking up stop-go penalties, it's going to certainly give these two a chance of a podium. As Tony 0K says he got disconnected. Yeah, you've had a very unlucky night, to be fair, Tony Zero. It's not really gone your way at all, unfortunately, mate. It's a shame to see, but these things do happen. Mary Louise there coming through the penultimate corner. Is he going to do his stop-go penalty this time around? I imagine he would, because he's got no need to really stay out. There's no benefit to staying out really in this scenario. And in he comes to the pits. As Guido Christ looking to the inside there on Henry, but can't make anything happen just at the moment. As into the final sector we go. He's still putting that pressure on the back of Henry at the moment. But Mary Louise there coming to the pits at the moment, and into the box he goes. But there is Guido Christ and Henry coming over the line to start lap 21. Mary Louise there in his pit box, serving that stop-go penalty. Tynus well out in front at the moment. As Mary Louise there in that box. Henry's still got to do that drive-through penalty at some point. So Mary Louise back out on the track once again. Henry stood all over the back of Guido Christ, but with his drive-through penalty, he's pretty much going to give Guido Christ a walkover here for a podium place, I reckon. Highgrade obviously still yet to pit, will come out behind these two. But Henry might end up behind Capriga and Kanye as well, and possibly Highgrade once he comes in to do his drive-through. So it's really not going to plan at all here for Henry. Archie in the comments says, think high grade is full tanking going by his stream, but not sure if his pace is strong enough to leapfrog many. Yeah, it's difficult to know. Interesting to see you watching the private streams there, Archie. I know that some people have been posting them on the Discord. I'll tell you what, you should be our Ted Kravitz here at Motive. The fact that you're doing all this background investigation, very impressive. Fair play to you. But yeah, we've got Gita, Chris and Henry coming over the line here to start what's lap 22 for them. Henry's still going to do his drive through. It was for track limits, it wasn't for speeding in the pits, so he's obviously been pushing the limits a little bit too much as Henry, and he's got to come in as a result. But the only drivers still yet to pit here in this Tier 1 race tonight are Tynerson High Grade. Archie says Red Bull are cheating. Well, why am I not surprised about that? If only they had their own GT3 team, I think they'd probably get Max Verstappen to come in and do that as well. Probably get him to, I don't know, he could probably get there in time, couldn't he, from the F1 races? He drives quick enough. But Tyner's out the front doing a business right now. And Archie, you've been singing the praises of Tyner's pretty much the whole time. And yeah, he's currently absolutely flying here out the front. Tony 0K says, my butt hurts now. I'm not surprised, mate. You've been sat at the rig for quite a long time. Not gonna lie, it's not easy. Although, saying that, you know, I think you should try driving 9.5 hours in one go around the Nürburgring, Nordschleife, on Project Cars 2 in a GT3 car. Once you've done that, get back to me. Let me know how that feels. Because I can tell you, it's numbing. I mean, when I stood up after that, I could not feel my legs. It was extremely uncomfortable. Now is Henry going to come in? No, Henry stayed out, so he's staying out for the maximum amount of time possible here. He's over a second behind Gita Chris at this point. As Chris says, I'm still sat in the rig watching this. Oh right, oh yeah, you're still sat in your the rig that you raced in Tier 2, yeah. To be fair, I'm sure they're quite comfortable. They're probably more comfortable than desk chairs actually, because you leaning back, you look. I've seen them. They look very, very cosy. Most of the gaming chairs that people use with their rigs. For me, I just use my office chair and I clamp the wheel to the desk, so it's not really that high tech. It's just literally just clamp it on the desk, plug it in play, and then wheel my office chair up to the desk. And it can actually get quite awkward because sometimes the chair does roll around. I've been sitting on a stool like chair, no rig. I used to sit on a stool and then it actually broke, probably because of all the times when I've been sat on it. Obviously when you're racing, your whole body tenses up and you're putting so much pressure on the chair, and it was like a wooden stool, and basically, yeah, after about a couple of years it just ended up snapping underneath me, and it wasn't very comfortable, I must admit. It was quite painful actually. But yeah, basically all the years of like having so much pressure being put on it, it ended up just giving way. Forward and pillow, says Totally Zero. I never went for pillow because pillow just made me, I don't know, just made me feel like I was floating. Just didn't really feel at ease. Didn't like it. Preferred to yeah, just feel in touch with what was underneath me. Raki says, what wheel do you have, Andy? I'm a desk camping chair racer. Yeah, similar to me. I'm G29. So obviously the G29 comes with its little flappy paddles, and only one of mine works actually, so I'm literally using one, which is okay. You can do it, you just have to do it very tight. As Henry comes out after his drive-through, where's he come out? He's come out just behind Capriglia, so he comes out in P6 there. He's just a little bit ahead of Kangi as he's coming into turn 1. So Henry there coming out in P6. Now where can he get to? Can he try and chase down? Can he try and chase down Capriglia here in the final stint of this race? Archie there in the comments saying, Got my Ted Kravitz approved flip-flops on. Hungary should come out of the pits around 5th if my maths are correct. I wouldn't be surprised if that's right. But the big question here is whether Tynus in the house is going to come out ahead of Robe. He probably will, but I imagine Robe will have better pace because Robe is on much fresher tyres. He put these tyres on with 25 minutes left in this race. So yeah, he's going to have much fresher tyres and it's going to be a lot quicker in the final stint of this race. He'll be lapping a lot quicker at this moment in time. He's also doing the fastest laps of the race, which is no surprise whatsoever. So can he put Tynus under real pressure here for this race win? Tynus, we know, loves to go late on his pit stop, so I imagine he'll probably be leaving it until the very last lap or as late as he can possibly go. Well, when are we going to see him rolling the dice? As Guido Christ here coming into the pits at the end of lap 24. Lap 25, sorry. So in he comes. Raki there saying, think so. Tynus usually does splash and dash. Guido Christ there in the box right now at the end of lap 25. And Tynus still out there doing everything right at this point. But yeah, Raki, I think you are right. I think it's going to be a stop and go here for Tynus. But the thing is, he's going to have much older tyres. The thing is, like, Robe's got fresh tyres compared to Tynus, so that will be what will help him out massively. That will be what Robe will give Robe a bit of an advantage, and Robe will be closing the gap more and more. The splash and dash pit stop is usually about 40 to 45 seconds. So it just really just depends. Honestly, it's just about how much time Robe can gain at this moment. But the thing is, Tynus, I think, is a full sector ahead of high grade, and at no point are they in the same sector, so you can't actually see what the gap is to high grade. So then in turn you can't see what the gap is to Robe. It's really a guessing game at this point. I'll try and, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look at the top right hand corner and make a note of what the timer is on when Tynus crosses the line, and that will give us an idea. So he's coming over now. So 14:16 was the timer when Tynus came over the line. Now we just got to wait and see what it is for Robe. So 14:16 the timer was at. I reckon, looking at Robe, he's about 55 seconds off for the lead, but I reckon he's probably going to be lapping about a second and a half a lap quicker. So let's say until Tynus pits, it's going to probably be about 8 laps. So the gap could be under 45 seconds by the time Tynus comes in. I don't think Robe's out of this at all. I think Robe's definitely still in with a shout of this race win. It's very much on the table at the moment, in my opinion. Totally Zero K says, I'm proud, I'm setting the times I'm doing with controller, can never get tired of it, but I can still do better. They have a Neuron controller, well done mate, that is impressive. Archie says, not an easy track to pass on either, so whoever is first off the Tynus stops will win. I don't know about that, Archie, because the tyre advantage will play a huge hand. I know you say, I know you're right, I know what you're right in saying it's a hard track to overtake, but with a tyre advantage that's, let me work it out, I mean, you know, 35 minutes younger, so he would have done 20 laps less on his tyres. You know, it makes a huge difference. You know, there's only a certain amount of pace differential that you can cover off with a lack of overtaking opportunities. But you know, when you've got 20 lap fresher tyres, it's not going to be too difficult to overtake, even around a track where overtaking is generally reasonably sparse. But ultimately, I think that if you've got tyres that are that much fresher, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for anybody to hold someone behind when the car behind you's got tyres that are that much fresher. In the meantime, we've got Robe now closing up onto the back of High Grade. Obviously, High Grade hasn't been into the pits yet. Robe has. Robe is technically in a battle with Tynus right now. So he'll be wanting to get ahead of Highgrade as quickly as he can and waste no time messing around behind him, as he's now looking to the inside. Highgrade in no mood to wave him by. Obviously is in a battle for P5 himself, and he's currently proving to be a bit of a thorn in the side here for Robe at the moment, as they're coming into the final corner. So here we come, out onto the start finish straight once again. Robe is going to look to try and get the run here down the start finish straight and make a move into turn 1. As Highgrade there on the outside, you can see Robe now looking down the inside. He's surely going to make this move here on the brakes, you would think, with fresher tyres and everything like that. There he goes, Robe, easy pickings there, and moves himself up into 2nd place. I forgot to check the timers to actually see what the gap was between Tynus and Robe, so I'll try and do it this time. But yeah, it might prove to be, I don't know, a bit difficult. Archie's saying, Highgrade's an ex-teammate of mine. He's normally tough to pass. Yeah, we saw that there, Archie. Robe didn't find it too easy, as we got Andrew saying 1 minute bang on is the gap between Tynus and Robe. So Tynus, I reckon, should be okay, but it's going to be close. I can tell you that it might be quite close. Robe would need to be pulling about 1.8 seconds a lap if he were to nab him. It'd be extremely difficult. You know, extremely difficult. But it's not impossible, that's for sure. Not impossible at all. Andrew's saying it's a longer pit lane. Indeed, it is a long pit lane. Probably nowhere near as long as a pit lane like Spa. Sorry, I'm very tired, if you might not be able to tell. But yeah, I mean, Monza's a long one as well. It's similar length to Monza, Imola, all those ones. Imola's a nightmare. I hate the Imola pit lane. Honestly, that's the most dreaded pit lane on earth. Aside from Spa, obviously. Highgrade coming into the pits here at the end of lap 28. So he's getting his pit stop now done and out of the way. I reckon Tynus is probably going to leave it until lap 33. That's if it ends up being a 34 lap race. If it isn't, Tynus will come in on lap 32. But he will come in as late as he possibly can. He will wait as long as he can to do his pit stop. I know Tynus, I know how he works, I know his game. It's always a long first stint. Then his second stint is usually 1 or 2 laps long. No more. But he starts lap 30 here. There's Tynus in the house with a commanding lead over Robe. Again, I forgot to look at the timer. Must have been about 9 minutes when he crossed the line, surely. But I didn't actually see as he came over. Well, I reckon Tynus has probably done enough here. I reckon Robe's going to just about come up short here in this race. So it's 8 minutes as Robe crosses the line. I reckon it's about 9 when Tynus crossed the line. So Tynus, I think, should have this in hand. He should come out about 10 or 15 seconds ahead of Robe, I think. Tynus needs to keep it careful because he was quite wide there. Archie said, Motive needs to buy me a Skypad and I can be Karoon as well as Ted. Very good, very good. Right, let's keep an eye on the gap this time around. It's going to tell us everything we need to know. So, 7:12 as they come over the line for Tynus. Let's keep an eye on Robe. See what the gap is when he comes round. I think Robe is lapping quicker than Tynus, but nowhere near enough, I don't think, unless the long pit lane here at Hungary proves to be the thorn in the side here for Tynus. Well, which it could well be. It could well be. But here comes Robe out of the final corner once again. The gap is 57 seconds between Tynus and Robe at this point. So if the pit lane, say the pit lane costs you 45 seconds, Tynus should be alright. If it's about a 50-second time loss in the pits, it could be quite close between these two come the final lap. It all depends on how much quicker Robe is going than Tynus. But I reckon we've probably got 4 more laps including this one, or 3.5. Well, 3 for Tynus because he's just coming towards the end of lap 30, or 31. So yeah, we've got 3 laps left here in this race after the one that Tynus is about to start. Or saying that, maybe not. Tell you what, he needs to come into the pits before the final lap. If Tynus has got any sense, he'll be coming into the pits before the final lap, because the longer this race goes on, the more likely it is that Robe gets ahead of him. So Tynus needs to make sure he comes in before the last lap here, because the race will be 1 lap shorter if he comes in. If he stays out until the last possible opportunity, the race will be extended by 1 lap. So he needs to come in before the final opportunity, so then the race will be 1 lap shorter and it gives Robe 1 less lap to try and catch him. But is Tynus aware of this? Has he? Because obviously, you know, you're in a heated situation. It's not always easy to keep that presence of mind and be able to work all this stuff out when you're in a cockpit. When you're driving at full power, you're trying hard to keep the gap. You know, this might not be something that's on his mind at this point, and potentially this could have gone over his head, unless he's got somebody in a party chat with him, sort of briefing him. This could be information that he's not currently aware of. In the meantime, the battle between Kangi and PS Vids is still continuing to rage on as these guys are coming down towards the chicane. As PS Vids looking to throw a feint to the inside there on PS Vids, always giving a bit of a tap there as they came through the chicane, but they're still holding firm, still holding position right now, as you were between these guys. As Tynus is in the pits here at the end of lap 32. I said he'd need to come in so that he'd cover off any sort of possibility of an extra lap for Robe to catch him. So here he comes. It'll be no tyre change for Tynus. It'll be a stop and go in the box for him. Robe is just coming into the final sector here. He's just coming into the final sector now. He's got 30 seconds to the end of the lap. Tynus will probably be no more than 10 seconds in that box. There we go, Tynus is now away. How far has he got to go into the end of the pits? Not very far at all. He's out on the track now. Tynus in the house at the end of the pit lane. Robe coming into the penultimate corner. So Tynus in the house has jumped Robe by an absolute mile here. Into turn 1 he goes. He's gapped, I'd say, nearly 20 seconds here to Robe. So Tynus in the house, it wasn't even close. Easily he's come out ahead of him, absolutely miles ahead. Tynus coming on the exit of turn 2, Robe just coming into turn 1 now. Robe will have the faster tyres for these final couple of laps, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough to get close to Tynus. Tynus coming through turn 4, Robe there going through turn 2. Tynus there coming through turn 5, Robe into turn 3. So Tynus in the house a long way behind. Sorry, Robe a long way behind Tynus in the house. Tynus in the house just going through turn 8 right now. Roby just going through turn 5. So yeah, Tynus in the house has done enough here, I think, to take this victory. Nearly 20 seconds is his gap here over Roby, so he's definitely done more than enough here in this one. GTJ says he missed tier 1 due to a race. Oh no. Yeah, shame you weren't chiming in here tonight, mate. You're usually checking us out here on the stream, but shame you couldn't be with us for this one. Good to see you join us at the end, but it's a little bit late. But better late than never, as the old cliche goes. Kangi here, or is it? I mean, probably not really, but Kangi here, just ahead of PS Vids. Gilachrist also right there as well, as they're coming into turn 1. As Gilachrist looking to the inside there, and PS Vids looking to the inside here on Kangi. Kangi now defending to the inside, covering the inside line off. PS Vids trying to go for a cutback here out of turn 1, but Kangi has just enough as they come down towards turn 2. As you can see now, Gilachrist looking to the inside here on Kangi as well. Sorry, on PS Vids, should I say. PS Vids leaves the door open for Gilachrist. Gilachrist now down the inside, manages to squeeze through ahead of PS Vids, and PS Vids can't do nothing about it. And Gilachrist are up into 7th place. Can Gilachrist now get ahead of Kangi in the final part of this race? That's going to be the big question here, as PS Vids very wide there in the background coming out of turn 4. Maybe feeling the pace there on the tyres a little bit. Having said that, he did change his tyres, so shouldn't be suffering with too much tyre wear, but nonetheless they're certainly going to be more worn out now than they were earlier on. Roby's gaining huge amounts on Tynus, but it's the final lap, and Tynus has got a bit of traffic. Oh, PS Vids there spins around on the back of Gilachrist there, and he's facing the wrong way, and that's going to be him done here. Tynus is just coming up to this traffic, and they're going to want to stay on the lead lap here. They're not going to want to let him by. They're going to want to be able to fight it out for this final lap. But Tynus in the house is coming through the final few corners of this race, and he is about to take the victory here at the Hungaroring for the second round of the season. He took the win in the first round of the season at Spa with a fantastic fuel-saving, tyre-saving strategy. He's going to do exactly the same thing here tonight at the Hungaroring for round 2. It's going to be 2 from 2. What a season Tynus in the house is having as he comes up towards the line. He takes the checkered flag, and Tynus in the house with a dominant display in the end. He had it all under control, knew exactly what he was doing with the tyres, kept them in their prime, and has just absolutely blown him away. Roby coming out of the final corner did a half-tank tyre change strategy, and it has not paid off for him. Second place in the end for Roby. Nonetheless, some great points for him. 16 seconds behind Tynus in the house in the end. PS Vids was actually lapped in the end with that spin on the final lap, so he drops down to P8. Mary Louise over in 9th ahead of Kevsim. So those three are lapped down in 8th, 9th and 10th places. High Grade coming into the final sector here is going to complete the podium. So a really good result for him, but he's absolutely miles behind the race winner Tynus. Absolutely nowhere near him at all. Where is Scuderia Paul? He's coming out of the final corner, so he's going to take P10, a lap down on your race winner Tynus. High Grade here coming into the final corner. It'll be a 3rd place here. Some very good points. Well done to him on a podium. Very impressive job from High Grade here tonight, as he comes over in 3rd place. In the end, he was over a minute behind Tynus. So yeah, it just goes to show Tynus and Roby in another league, but especially Tynus. Lowell 3000 comes over to take 11th place here in the end. Capriga is going to come through the final corner to take 4th. So he holds off the charge of Henry, who was actually reading him at the end there, but Henry couldn't quite get there in time. So Capriga 4th, Henry 5th. Kangi's going to come around to take P6 in the end, with Gilachrist over in 7th, and that is all she wrote here. So we had 15 drivers start the race, and 11 made it to the end, or 12 made it to the end, but I think Kevsim left before the lobby loaded. So that is that then, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight here at Motive for the GT3 Championship. Unfortunately, we only had 30 drivers turn out across both tiers due to the fact that it was Easter Sunday, you know what I mean? A lot of people are busy, a lot of people have got engagements and they're with family and stuff, so you've got to understand. So yeah, it's probably the reason why. But nonetheless, guys, thanks for joining us. Join us next week at Watkins. Game will be live at the same place as always, same time. 7 p.m. for Tier 2 and 8:30 for Tier 1. And also join us on Tuesday. We'll be live on Project Cars 2 for the Clear Cup. Then we're back on ACC on Wednesday night for the Sprint League at 8 p.m. UK time. Followed by the Touring Cars on Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. on Project Cars 2. F1 will follow that at 6:30 p.m. UK time on Friday, and then we're back on ACC next week, as I said, for the GT3 Championship, making its return for round 3 at Watkins Glen. But thanks everybody once again, and we'll see you later. Have a good evening, and yeah, bye bye.